Republicans are going to win landslide.
Everybody wants to lose.
We've got a story to tell. We're going to go out and tell it.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Their unstoppable offensive attack against Maryland.
Touchdown!
The best pregame, the best announcers, the biggest games. Maryland, Michigan, Saturday at noon Eastern on Fox.
Now, a look at what's happening from the Fox News Rundown.
Good morning. It's Thursday, September 22nd. This is the Fox News Rundown. Congress has just 8 days left to prevent a government shutdown. They're continuing to work to find a way to keep the government funded today. And bank CEOs head back to Capitol Hill for a second day of hearings as they defend their investments in either fossil fuels or green energy. Democrat Rashida Tlaib of Michigan clashed with J.P. Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon yesterday after he said her request to divest from oil funding would be the, quote, road to hell in America. And today marks the first day of fall. I'm Sue Guzman on the Fox News Rundown.
This is the Fox News Rundown.
This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and NewstalkSTL.com. So many ways to listen to News Talk STL. Enable our Alexa skill.
Hello.
Hey, Alexa.
Yes, I'm listening.
Play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Hey folks, Tim Jones here of 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Join Chris Arps and I and the St. Louis Young Republicans for the annual Freedom Fest Barbecue. The second annual event will be on Sunday, October the 9th at the St. Louis County GOP headquarters at 11:30 a.m. Special guests, Attorney General Eric Schmidt, Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft, State Senator Bill Eigel, and more. Stand against tyranny, strengthen the conservative movement, enjoy tasty eats at the St. Louis Young Republicans Freedom Fest Barbecue. More information at NewstalkSTL.com.
Hey, Columbo here for our family dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, a one-stop solution for all your family's dental needs, including braces. Dr. Boscia uses the My Forever Smile Braces system, which straightens teeth many times in less than a year for half the price of traditional braces. Traditional braces or Invisalign can cost $6,000 or more, but Dr. Boscia only charges $29.98 for My Forever Smile, and incentives and insurance can lower the price even more, plus New Creation offers in-office financing. Learn more at newcreationdentalcare.com.
Since 2007, the state of Missouri and local governments have handed out almost $5 billion in tax subsidies or abatements to private developers. That money could have gone to basic services like schools and public safety. And studies show these subsidies don't produce the promised jobs and growth. If developers want to build a sports stadium or shopping mall, why should they be given our tax dollars to do it? It's time to reform economic development subsidies. The Show Me message has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Look through your children's eyes to see the true magic of a forest. It's a storybook world for them. You look and see a tree. They see the wrinkled face of a wizard with arms outstretched to the sky. They see treasure in pebbles. They see a windy path that could lead to adventure. And they see you, their fearless guide through this fascinating world.
Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Decision 22 News.
The inflation, gas prices.
Decision 22 Analysis.
The things the American people want to hear about.
Decision 22 Opinion.
Same old tired talking points.
In St. Louis, Decision 2022 happens right here. News Talk STL.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, AMAC is the leading conservative advocacy and benefits organization. AMAC gives you access to exclusive benefits, insightful news, and a magazine full of uncensored content. They are pushing back against efforts to defund the police, weaken the borders, and corrupt our youth. But they need your help. Please stand with AMAC at amac.us. That's amac.us. On this Thursday, let me ask you an important question. Do most of the people you know want you to succeed in life or not? Chances are you don't know. That's because jealousy and resentment is sometimes masked. Two-faced is the expression. In politics and sports, things are different. Americans have their teams, and we want them to do well, or else we'd find other teams. Therefore, there's no hope of Red Sox fans, for example, rooting for the Yankees, or in politics, conservative folks pulling for Joe Biden. As Bush the Elder once said, not gonna happen. This makes things harder for Biden, Trump, and all politicians who must deal with resistance no matter what they do. The Yankees don't need Sox fans in order to succeed, but elected leaders can only be effective if a majority support them. So politics is unique and a very tough road. But back to you. It's very important to know who is wishing you prosperity and who is not. Some people try to persuade the naysayers to their side, but not me. I try to treat everyone fairly, but understand that respect, treating others fairly, will not always be returned. So I walk away from people, as difficult as that is sometimes. I do not want to be ambushed down the road. Back after this. I'm excited to tell you about our new entertainment partner, Vidgo. V as in Victor, I-D-G-O. Vidgo gives you the freedom to be entertained at a price you can afford. Vidgo has all my favorite live sports networks and a great choice of news programming. All of that starting at just $59 a month. You do deserve the freedom to be entertained at a price you and your family can afford. So please go to vidgo.com/bill. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Newstalk STL Weather Center.
Cloudy skies and cooler temperatures this morning and throughout the day. Nice and dry for the drive in St. Louis under those cloudy skies as temperatures in the low 60s. And remaining mainly cloudy with some peaks of sunshine today, but a cooler day after the 96 yesterday. 72 for the high today. Lows tonight in the low 50s and the high tomorrow in the mid 60s under mostly cloudy skies with a few light showers around on Friday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
News, analysis, opinion. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Let's get the conversation started, St. Louis. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on Newstalk STL.
In addition to all the races for office, U.S. Senate, down to state legislature and even local races, Missouri voters have a big question to answer. Actually, two big questions. Hey, Mike Ferguson here. Appreciate you making Newstalk STL part of your morning. First question, should the state legalize recreational marijuana? The second question, if the answer to that is yes, is Amendment 3 the right way to do that? In the 8 o'clock hour, we've got the director of the campaign for Amendment 3, John Payne from Legal Mode 22, is going to answer some of the critiques of the amendment itself. And frankly, I'm one of those who has some questions about it and a little skeptical, but we'll do that in the 8 o'clock hour. We had a really good conversation with State Senator Andrew Koenig on Wednesday's program. It looks like we're going to get some kind of a tax cut, just not as much as the governor asked for, not as much as conservatives actually wanted. So in a bright red state like Missouri, what the heck's going on? Here's what he had to say. If I'm correct in the way I'm reading the news stories on this, something's better than nothing, but it's not everything that that conservatives were really hoping for. Sounds like it's not even everything the governor's hoping for.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, it's still a good bill. It still cuts taxes. There's no question what drives economic growth. You have to have low tax rates. you look at the states that are growing, Texas, New York, even South Dakota, I was looking at the numbers. Missouri lost people to moving to South Dakota, which doesn't have any beaches, doesn't have good weather, every single year for the last 15 years. And so the tax code matters, and lowering that top rate is the most effective thing you can do, because the income tax is the most destructive tax that's known to man. And so we did pass a perfected bill yesterday. We should get the final vote on that bill out of the Senate today. And what the bill does is it lowers our income tax from what will be 5.2. Current law says the rate would be going 0.2 starting January. This lowers it to 4.95. Then if revenues go up by $175 million, it will go down to 4.8%, which is very likely to happen. Revenues on the fiscal year, which start July 1st, and as of today, we're up over $300 million. So I believe hitting that threshold, even with the tax cut, will happen. And that gets us to the 4.8 that the governor wanted us to have. It would just be delayed by 1 year. There's also triggers taking us down to 4.5. I would always love a more aggressive tax cut, but I'm certainly glad the governor called us in to get this done, and I am optimistic that it will ultimately get done. Maybe the House can improve upon the product that the Senate sent over, but that only time will tell on that.
Andrew, this is Susie Moore. What was the biggest obstacle to getting the deal done?
Honestly, there's definitely some senators that are worried about cutting taxes too quickly. But the reality is we have over $4 billion sitting in cash. And just to put that in perspective, the general revenue budget is $12.9 billion. So $4 billion sitting in cash is about 1/3 of our entire general revenue budget.
Good morning, Andrew. This is Ken Williams. Are there any other areas where they plan to cut taxes for the citizens of Missouri?
Well, also in this, one thing I didn't mention that's also in the bill is the bottom bracket is being eliminated. So through this process, the top three brackets are going to be, or the top bracket's already eliminated. The next bracket is going to be eliminated starting January 1st. And then once the bill's fully phased in, a third bracket will be eliminated. So we're definitely getting closer to what you would consider more of a flat tax.
So what's the update on the deduction? The governor, as I understand it, wanted basically to double the standard deductions, which means that, the first X number of thousands of dollars of income is just not taxed at all. And he wanted to increase that, which would obviously help in addition to the rate cut. But if I'm reading this right, that did not make it into the bill. What's the status of that?
Correct. So that provision is not in the bill. But like I said, we did eliminate the bottom bracket, which would have the same effect of raising the standard deduction. The only thing is it just didn't do it as much because in the governor's call, he had eliminating the bottom bracket and raising the standard deduction. The most effective thing for economic growth is lowering the rate, lowering the top income tax rate. That's what drives economic growth. Raising the standard deduction does not do that. But yeah, that did not make it into the bill.
And so do we have a similar divide just between more of that moderate establishment and conservatives as well? And we have a compromise in the middle here. I mean, I was not really joking earlier when I said, imagine what would happen if Republicans got out of the way of the conservatives right now.
Right. Yeah. So the bill that I initially filed, took the rate down to 4.7 immediately. And then also eliminated the bottom bracket and then took us down to 4.4 with triggers. And to me, that's still a very reasoned approach, but obviously a much bigger tax cut than what we're getting.
You've mentioned how this is, so important as far as competitiveness and for our economy. People forget that we're surrounded by, I think, as many states as any other state in the country, if not more.
8 states. Yep.
Yeah, 8 states around the country, and we're all competing for stuff. So, you've got the liberal groups, Missouri Budget Project and some others, and they're saying, it's only going to amount to a few dollars, per paycheck. This doesn't matter. We've got to keep it for government programs and stuff. What's the bigger picture? Even if each paycheck only reflects, a few dollars to, few $100.
So the bigger picture is when I first was elected, or in 2014, when we passed the Senate Bill 509 tax cuts, the rate was 6%. We hadn't cut the income tax in 100 years, or not 99 years. So getting our rate down to 4.5, that's in law, is cutting, a total of 25%. I think the key is just keep cutting it. We need to get rid of the income tax to be competitive. Tennessee used to be half the size of half the population of Missouri. Now they're much bigger. They're probably going to gain congressional seat, if not next cycle, the cycle after that. If you look at the states that are growing, Texas, Florida, they're all growing. The states that are growing are the states that don't have an income tax. Even the state of Washington, a very liberal state, is growing because they have no income tax. And so I think the key is just to keep cutting it. Eventually, we might have to expand the base in other areas to be able to keep cutting it. But right now, we are flushed with cash, and we need to keep cutting it.
Andrew, you mentioned earlier the bill's been perfected by the Senate, but now it goes to the House, and they may make some changes to it. What's the process there?
Yeah, so what will happen is there'll be the House will get the Senate bill, and there can be amendments if they feel like it needs to be more aggressive. They can certainly do that. It'll go to a committee in the House. Then after committee, it will go to the House floor. If they make any changes, it'll come back to the Senate for a vote.
So you could this could last for another who knows how long. I mean, you could basically have to start from the beginning if the House doesn't like what you sent over.
Correct. Yeah, it wouldn't be starting from the beginning because it would not have to go through Senate committee again. It would go straight to the Senate floor. But yes, this process is not over yet.
You would think in a state that is controlled by Republicans to huge majorities in the House and the Senate with the governor, that it would be easier than this to cut taxes when there are record surpluses in the state. Pardon my frustration, Andrew, and I appreciate the fight that you're doing, but this is really frustrating to me that we can't say, wow, government has too much money, let's cut taxes accordingly.
Yeah, and if you to put this in perspective, we have like $4.2 billion in cash sitting there, and the governor's call was for $700 million. So that's not even 25% of the cash that we're sitting on.
Man, and so yeah, I mean, it's just almost mind-boggling. I mean, I love that we've got tax cutters, you and Bob Onder and a number of others who are in the in the House, in the Senate. You've got Nick Schroer and you've got several others here. But you would just think that at some point the establishment gets the message, and it just sounds like the message still has to be massaged to them.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately that's the situation that we're sitting ourselves into. And I'm happy we're able to get something done and get something to the House. But I would have certainly liked it to be more aggressive.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, appreciate the fight that you put up, Andrew, and we'll just keep our eye on what's happening and see what happens in the next couple rounds of this. Andrew, State Senator Andrew Koenig, the guy who's actually trying to get the taxes lower. That's in case you're wondering who that is. That's the guy who's trying to lower the taxes. Andrew, good talking to you again. Appreciate you being on the program.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Andrew.
All right, so we'll get some sort of updates today because it does go to the State House today. So then we'll find out what happens there. I mean, if you're a Democrat, you just sit back and don't worry about it.
No.
Let the Republicans
fight the fight.
Let the Republicans fight the conservatives.
And just sit back and snicker.
And try to mitigate, $4+ billion. And a lot of that is the irresponsible federal spending, but it's sitting there. And instead of saying, well, let's look for new ways to spend it, look for ways to not take money from us.
That'd be great.
You've got the money there. But 50 years down the road, we may not have this social program.
Okay.
Good Lord. That news roundup comes your way here in about 4 minutes, right here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. What's happening today? Here's your first dose of the news you need to know. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Now the The O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know.
Bill O'Reilly. Weeknights at 6:45. Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GLInternationalRealty.com.
No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
On News Talk STL.
Michael's Flooring Outlet is a locally owned and operated family business for more than 28 years, featuring exclusive products, unbeatable prices, and expert installation. You can choose from a wide variety of flooring options, including carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, plus many other options. And you'll gain a peace of mind knowing that your flooring and carpet installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michael's. You can shop in-store at one of their 3 convenient locations or shop from home online. Check out everything Michael's Flooring has to offer at igotfloored.com.
Stay top of mind with your customers, stand out from the competition, and drive productivity with a podcast for your business from Epic STL Podcasts. Log on to NewstalkSTL.com and click on the Epic STL Podcast button to learn more.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Kenny Zhu, president of Color Us United.
Race became a profitable industry. That's what happened. Racial victimhood. We all believe in civil rights, but then there are people who actually profit off of racial victimhood in this country. Diversity, equity, and inclusion right now, the new hot thing in companies, is a $10 billion plus industry.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money and your assets with gold and silver. And learn how to set up a new IRA or roll over your current one into a gold-backed IRA. Protect your money from the next market crash with gold and silver. Call now for your free gold guide.
800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. That's 800-281-4224.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Thanks for taking my call.
Right here.
My point about the governor there, it is absolutely about power.
I read this, I almost fell out of my chair.
News Talk STL.
This thing is just absolutely dripping with irony.
News, analysis, opinion. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Having your first cup of coffee? Mike's on his third. This is Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
All right, today we begin the first of basically a 2-part interview series on Amendment 3 and legalizing marijuana in the state of Missouri. So the big question, well, really there's 2 questions. Amendment 3, is this the right way to legalize pot in Missouri? Of course, the first question would be, should Missouri legalize recreational marijuana? So we're going to hear from both sides of the debate this week, starting with supporters of the referendum at 8:35 today. And then, Ken, tomorrow we've got somebody from the other side who says, I want to legalize, but I don't like Amendment 3. So one way or the other, people can hear 2 different sides of the argument on Amendment 3.
That's why people need to tune into the morning show. We get all sides of the information.
Yeah, and of course, this isn't even counting the people who just don't think we should legalize it at all. I mean, I disagree with those people, but I don't know if there's a campaign that says don't legalize at all that's organizing in Missouri. And the debate now is, if we're going to do it, is this the right way to do it? And so that's what I find really interesting, because I'm going to maintain that there's a lot of confusion over the process to legalize in the state of Missouri, which is probably bad for the legalization and decriminalization movement.
Oh, sure.
Without a doubt. So we'll get to that a little bit later on today. Anthony Fauci opens his trap again and again, actually defending those catastrophic lockdowns, even saying that all of the damage that was done to children, to businesses, to economy, it's okay. It's just an unfortunate result of what had to be done. He's actually saying this.
New numbers have come out, and it's been affirmed that children, their learning abilities were slowed by the COVID masking and mandates and all that,
and school shutdowns,
everything.
But he actually says he understands that that's just just collateral damage, and just we had to do it. Had to do it. It's just something. It was unfortunate, but you know what? We just had to do these things. He actually continues to argue. Why does that matter? Because people are saying, hey, listen, Fauci's retiring. He's not going to be a factor. It still matters because the hard left, even I would even say not even the fringe, but just the dedicated left, which runs governments in St. Louis County and the state of Illinois and St. Louis City, they worship this guy. They follow this guy. So his comments should be kept in mind when we vote in November.
And understand this. He's retiring, but he also said he's going to be behind the scenes making suggestions as an advisor.
It's not like a traditional retirement. It's a different kind of retirement.
Yeah.
The kind of retirement where he finds a way to
hold on to power.
Hold on to power and influence and stay in there. So that's because I actually have had somebody ask us, say, man, Mike, you're still bringing up these mandates and lockdowns. These things have been over. Well, thank God there was a Attorney General Eric Schmidt suing the crap out of school districts and local governments for violating people's rights.
Yeah.
And so he won far more than he lost, which is kind of funny because I'm seeing apparently one of the talking points of the leftist trolls now is, he can't even win any lawsuits. He won almost all. He didn't win them all, but he won almost all of them.
Yeah.
Because under Missouri state law, St. Louis County government was violating people's rights. School districts violating the rights of children. It's something that will come back unless we throw down the gauntlet and make some changes. That's why I wasn't 100% excited about Mark Mantovani's answer to my question about the lockdowns and shutdowns, but it was a whole lot better than what Sam Page had. We have to make a change at the St. Louis County Executive's office, and hopefully Mark Mantovani won't be afraid to come back on and talk about those issues on this show. Also, this is going to be interesting. Okay, in about an hour, I found this thread on Reddit. And I don't spend a lot of time on Reddit, but I found one and it said, what are some things that people basically base their entire personality around? And there were some fascinating answers. And as I was going down the list of things, people said, there's some people that, their whole personality is based on this, their obsession with this. And I'm like, I know somebody who does that. 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 And so I'm going to get the list, and I'm curious if we know anybody who does these things and if we're even guilty of some of these things ourselves. So that's going to be kind of a fascinating conversation. Normally, there's a lot of just ridiculous stuff on Reddit because people can spout off about anything they want, which is kind of the fun part. But
I've never used Reddit.
Yeah, I just get, if I hear there's something that is interesting on there, I'll go check it out, but I don't like have an account or anything, just what's available. Just interesting conversations get out there. A lot of stuff in like business, bad bosses, good bosses, stuff with culture, any all sorts of stuff out there.
I mean, I've seen it many, many times. I've never gone to the going to the platforms. So.
I'm on enough stuff online. I don't need anything else.
That's primarily the reason why I haven't.
All right, the big news coming out of yesterday, Federal Reserve raises rates 0.75%. Fox Business Network's Jackie DeAngelis has more on what that means to the economy, which means more of what it means to you.
The market was trading higher for most of the session before that decision, indicating it was expecting this hike. But then when the news broke, markets retreated, the Dow closing lower by 522 points. As the Fed hikes rates, trying to tame persistently high inflation, the economy will slow. Consumers and corporations will see higher borrowing costs, and that's going to impact the overall pace of growth. Mortgage rates over 6% now. Car loans could be breaking through 6% soon. Credit card interest rates already on the very high side. They will increase. The flip side of this, a little interest earned on savings accounts. Some high-yield online savings accounts paying close to 2%. Some argue this should be substantially higher, but still, the markets are bracing for more volatility. Jackie DeAngelis, Fox News.
All right, my guy from Stiefel, Eric Robert, going to be with us at 7:05. Excuse me. Give us a breakdown on this. We're going to step away from the politics and just say, hey, this is the reality of what's happening right now. What do we need to prepare for? What maneuvers do we need to be making? Also, in just a little bit, Ken, a joint congressional committee and NerdWallet, they actually tried to calculate up what it costs the average household just to keep up with the inflation and not have to downgrade your lifestyle. You'll be shocked at the number that the average household is now spending just to tread water.
Will not be shocked.
You might. I'm
Believe
telling
me.
you, it's a big number.
I know the numbers, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's not fair. Cheater.
I know.
All right.
But I think everybody's going to be really shocked about it.
It's a big number. All right, quick follow-up to a conversation we had yesterday. I mentioned, Tim Scott, senator from South Carolina, wanting to tie federal funding to school districts to their getting parental consent for this crazy gender stuff and indoctrination. And so he was asked about that on America Reports. Senator Scott talks about what he's calling the Protect Kids Act that he introduced in the Senate, which is protecting parents' rights by keeping schools from hiding information about students' gender stuff, pronouns and identities and all this stuff. School districts all over the country, including here in the St. Louis area, are hiding that from parents. And here's what Senator Scott had to say about it.
Parents should be talking to their teachers, not having to file a Freedom of Information Act to see if their kid's learning about CRT or some gender issue in the 4th grade. That's unconscionable, literally unconscionable. We should stop seeing schools indoctrinate kids and get back to educating that child.
It'd be nice if public schools actually educated children in a meaningful way aside from all of this. But yes, amen and amen to what Senator Scott just said.
The bill should be named Protecting Children's Innocence, period.
Yeah, precisely. And parental rights. I mean, it's
and
just
parental
insane.
rights, yeah.
It's amazing we have to have these kind of conversations. That's just how radical public education has become in this country.
It's crazy.
New York City has decided to fire, or they said lay off, about 850 teachers and teachers' aides in the school district. You want to guess why?
They weren't vaxxed,
They
probably,
were not
right?
vaccinated.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind that they've lifted the vaccine passports in the private sector, but they're maintaining it on the public side of things in the public school district. Even authoritarian Canada is expected to lift its mandate that you have to have a vaccine passport to get into the country. So when Justin Trudeau backs off as authoritarian before Eric Adams, mayor of New York City, does, you got a problem there.
And I will argue that TDS goes real deep in New York. And I think that in some fashion, this is the origin of it.
Yeah. All right. Some other bad news to end the news roundup on. Cardinals lost 1-0 to the Padres yesterday in San Diego. Cardinals have now not scored a run in 27 innings.
What's up with that?
Yeah. Defense is awesome. It was a 1-0. Pitching is good, but they just haven't gotten any runs on the board.
It's that slump. All teams get it. And you know what? I'd rather them get it right now.
Get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Padres and Cardinals play again in San Diego today. Daytime game, 3:15 our time, so a lot of people are taking off work early is what's going to happen. There are 12 games to go in the regular season. The Cardinals have not clinched the NL Central yet, but they do have a 7.5 game lead, so they're in a really, really good spot.
It's a slump buffer.
Yeah, 12 games to go, which means we need 2 home runs out of Albert in the next 12 games.
Come on now.
All right, just ahead here, authoritarian left and their adherence, almost religious adherence to these lockdowns and mandates of government power. I'm going to explain why I think we should not forget before the next election in November.
Columbo here for Agers Heating and Air Conditioning. We trust Agers with our home because their number one priority is doing right by the customer. Temperatures are changing outside, and as we transition from warmer temps to cooler ones, if you have any issues keeping your family comfortable, don't wait. Call the great team at Agers so they can address the issue before it gets worse. Because whether it's repairs or replacement, Agers is there with the clarity and attention to detail your home deserves. Contact Agers now at 636-242-6515 or through their website, callagers.com.
I'm Missouri's Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft. Voting is a right and a responsibility. You can always vote a provisional ballot on Election Day, but using a photo ID is the best way to vote. A valid Missouri driver's license, for example. If you need an ID, my office can help you get one for free. Either way, your vote counts. Check out sos.mo.gov or call my office. And remember, in Missouri, if you're registered, you can vote.
Sponsored by Missouri Secretary of State.
How is your car payment treating you? What if I told you you could make a free phone call right now and reduce your car payment by as much as $83 a month? Look at your car payment closely. You could be paying as high as 20% interest. Rate Genius can help you reduce your car payments by reducing your interest rate to as low as 2.48% APR. We can refinance most existing car loans or leased cars, new or used, and save you money every month. Put more money back in your pocket. The call is free to find out how low we can lower your car payment. 5 minutes of your time right now could save you hundreds of dollars a year. Call Rate Genius now.
800-764-2179. 800-764-2179. 800-764-2179. That's 800-764-2179.
Not all applicants qualify for a loan or rate savings. Actual offer terms, including APR, are determined at the time of your application based on creditworthiness, value of the vehicle, loan term, and other factors.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewstalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. There have been demonstrations and mass arrests across Russia after Vladimir Putin announced a call-up of reservists to fight in Ukraine. Correspondent Ed Donahue says a lot of Russians also trying to flee their homeland.
That woman was in a crowd in Moscow saying no to war.
Я не боюсь. Я уже ничего не боюсь.
She also said, I am not afraid. I am not afraid of anything. The most valuable thing that they can take from us is the lives of our children. I won't give them my child's life. The Moscow prosecutor's office warned organizing or taking part in a demonstration could lead to up to 15 years in prison. Other Russians responded by trying to leave the country, and flights out of Russia quickly became booked.
President Biden describing as outrageous Putin's behavior, including his bellicose threats amid setbacks in his drive to conquer Ukraine.
The president is critical of Russia's Vladimir Putin for making overt nuclear threats, describing them as reckless. Mr. Biden also condemns Russia for scheduling what he called sham referenda this week in Ukraine territory it has seized by force.
This world should see these outrageous acts for what they are.
At the UN yesterday, the president called on the world to bolster Ukraine's effort to defend itself. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Former President Trump continues to defy what he describes as a political witch hunt. This time it's a New York Attorney General's lawsuit targeting Mr. Trump and members of his family for their business dealings. Trump lawyers saying the suit is neither focused on the facts nor on the law. And the Trump legal team may appeal a ruling by a federal appeals court lifting a judge's hold that prevented the Justice Department from reviewing documents that were seized by the FBI in the Mar-a-Lago raid. Wall Street, Dow futures up 52 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hello?
Hey, stranger.
Oh, hi. Thank goodness it's you. I was afraid to answer the phone.
Why? What's up?
The credit card companies are after me. They want me to make payments, and the calls never stop.
Ouch. Been there before, but I got help from Trinity Debt Management.
Trinity?
Yeah, I called, and right away, Trinity contacted my creditors and got my interest rates cut in half. They ended all the late fees and over-limit charges, and they stopped those annoying phone calls.
Bet that was a relief.
Yep. Then they put me on a plan that consolidated my bills into one easy monthly payment. That way, I paid off my debt fast while saving thousands.
Nice.
Trinity even showed me how to plan and meet a monthly budget. So now I'm debt-free for keeps.
Wow. Do you still have their number?
Sure. Here, write this down and call 1-800-990-6976.
Can you repeat that?
1-800-990-6976. That's 1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
We already have one crash to watch out for this morning. It's westbound 70 at Shreve. 2 left lanes are closed. Traffic back to Cary. That's about an 8-minute delay. Add 8 minutes to your morning commute. MoDOT and police have the scene. Again, that's the 2 left lanes blocked. 70 westbound at Shreve. This report is sponsored by Lowe's, and I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Don't miss the Energy Savings event at Lowe's. Save energy and save money on select major appliances, including Whirlpool. Selection varies by location. Exclusions apply. Visit Lowe's.com for details. Valid through 9/28.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Cloudy skies and cooler temperatures this morning and throughout the day. Nice and dry for the drive in St. Louis under those cloudy skies. Temperatures in the low 60s. and remaining mainly cloudy with some peaks of sunshine today, but a cooler day after the 96 yesterday. 72 for the high today. Lows tonight in the low 50s and the high tomorrow in the mid 60s under mostly cloudy skies with a few light showers around on Friday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Get ready, because here they come.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's Beatlemania all over again with the Fab Four, the ultimate tribute to the Beatles. Entertainment Tonight says seeing the Fab Four is just like seeing the Beatles.
Hey Jude.
The Fab Four takes you through the 60s with the music that changed our lives. It's a show you won't want to miss.
Saturday, October 1st at the Family Arena. Tickets on sale now at the Carroll House box office located at the Family Arena or at Ticketmaster.
It's the greatest pop rock of the 60s and 70s. The Happy Together Tour 2022. Saturday, August 20th at the Family Arena. Starring the Turtles, Chuck Negron, formerly of Three Dog Night, Gary Puckett and the Union Gap, the Association, the Vogues, and the Cowsills. Reserve seats on sale now at Ticketmaster and at the Carroll House box office located at the Family Arena.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
Thanks for being my voice in all this.
This is News Talk STL.
There are people out there that feel the way that I feel and say what I say.
Welcome home. Mike Ferguson.
I'm the world's heavyweight wrestling champion.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I'm Batman.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up.
I want to be clear, I'm not going nuts.
No.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
I think people realize that when like the Federal Reserve raises interest rates, that it's a big deal. But I think a lot of people are getting fatigued about just hearing the partisan bickering over inflation and economy. Okay. I'm still talking about it because it still matters to our lives. But Susie, what we're doing right here is going to put a real big focus on, okay, I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. This is what it means to you. You need to understand this. And we're feeling it, but we don't necessarily know why in a lot of cases. And so we're gonna talk about this a couple times through today with a real focus on, yes, the Biden policies suck, no question about that. I don't think anybody in their right mind can argue that this isn't contributing to it, although obviously before an election people are going to do whatever they can to win. But at 7:05, our friend Eric Robert from Stifel is going to be with us. I just texted him last night. I said, listen, man, this federal interest, this interest rate thing is affecting people in such huge ways that I got to have you on to explain this. Now, Eric's not going to get into the politics of it, and he's just going to give us the reality of it. So there's a lot of information you can use, and this came from a conversation I was having with my daughter because I was on the phone with her, and she's got a good job, and she's doing well, and she's really young, and I said, you got to call Eric, and you got to set up this retirement and investment savings with him, and she's going to do that. But then she mentioned, she goes, I don't even have a credit card. I'm like, thank God. Because those credit card interest rates are crazy.
Yeah.
So I want to get into that starting around 6:20. There was actually a calculation as to what the average cost is this year for the average household just to tread water and keep up with your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the basics and the things that you want to do. The number is kind of staggering. 6:08 right now. Susie Moore from redstate.com is in for Gabe for last couple days here.
Yeah.
You'll still be in after that, just not every single morning.
This is not the
you
end.
You get to sleep in starting on Monday.
I'm not going to be sad about that.
Exactly.
Well, good morning, Susie.
Well, good morning, Ken.
All right. So I'm also, I understand the conservative talk radio is like a dog with a bone on the lockdowns and COVID and mandates and all that kind of stuff. And I get that we're watching this more than other people are, because the reality is that a lot of voters and a lot of people just have the attention spans of fruit flies.
Sure.
And we forget. And we move on and what's the right now. And I get that. And to some degree, that can be really healthy. But in some ways, you have to remember the damage that was done. So Anthony Fauci was at an event hosted by The Atlantic.
Okay.
And he was the guest of honor, and he's talking about, reflecting on the COVID stuff and the public health, all of his authoritarian leanings. And he actually said out loud what we've been accusing him of for, 3 years now, is that you don't give a crap about the young people in schools and their education or the economy or business owners or people's First Amendment rights. Now, he puts it in a very different way and just says all those things are just collateral damage because we had such an emergency that we just had to use authoritarianism to shut stuff down. Here's how he says it.
Of course, when you make recommendations, if the primary goal when you're dealing with a situation where the hospitals were being overrun in New York, intensive care units were being put in hallways, you have to do something that's rather draconian. And sometimes when you do draconian things, it has collateral negative consequences. Just like when you shut things down, even temporarily, it does have deleterious consequences on the economy, on the school children. You know that. But you have to make a balance. When you're dealing with, we know the only way to stop something cold in its tracks is to try and shut things down. If you shut things down just for the sake of it, that's bad. But if you do it with the purpose of being able to regroup so that you can then open up in a more safe way, that's the best way to do it.
So we've got the good kind of draconian and the acceptable kind of collateral damage and an outright lie saying we know this is the only way to stop it cold in its tracks, which is complete horse
manure
stuff.
So
this guy's evil.
I'm not going to dispute that, and he's never going to be on my Christmas card list. But one thing that he said that I do somewhat agree with: there is a balance to be struck. There is a point at which you do have to weigh safety measures against freedom.
Define
basically.
safety measures and what freedoms should be balanced with that. I mean, what freedoms should be taken away.
Right. And that's exactly what I'm getting to. It's where you strike that balance and how you define those terms where we have a great divide here. Because there was an impulse out of fear to run all the way to, safety at the expense of freedom and rights without looking at the long-term consequences. And I know early on we were in a tough spot and it was tough to figure it all out. But that's the problem when you expect that government is the solution to everything, is expecting them to tell you what your freedoms are and aren't because of they're keeping you safe. So I agree with the principle of balance. I disagree with the way they define the terms and the way they struck the balance.
And they say that if you give up freedom for safety, you have neither. And I agree with that. I'll go 100% to that. I mean,
I'm going to disagree with both of you, by the way.
Okay, well, here's where I'm at. If you give up any safety at all or any freedom at all for safety, you're taking a risk, because once the government, as we found out, gets any of that control over your freedom, they're going to keep it and they're never going to give it back. And I'll argue that I'd rather take a chance on my safety for complete freedom.
Right, because once we determine that there's going to be a balance and we just have to decide how much authority government has to micromanage, take away a freedom, take away a right, then you don't have a right, you don't have a freedom anymore. You just have a privilege at the behest of government based on what they will allow us to have whenever there's an emergency that's declared. And so what we know is that if it takes an emergency to be declared, real or not, for government to take away freedoms, they're going to declare emergencies.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think the lesson we should have learned is not about, okay, we could do work at home with Zoom. Those are market solutions. People can do that.
Yeah.
And if somebody feels that wearing a piece of paper on their face makes them safer, they've got the freedom to do that, even though we know that didn't make a difference. But whatever. I'm going to a doctor appointment today, and I'm going to figure out which person I'm going to piss off with my smart alecky remarks when they say you have to wear a mask.
You've been warned.
Which person is going to not like me? Because that's my goal. At least one person will hate me by the time I leave there, so that they understand that people are not on board with this. But I don't think that we should ever say, well, let's balance which freedoms we can keep, because we don't know what we're dealing with.
And I do want to clarify what I was talking to. I was really speaking more of a societal and market type response where the government is laying the framework and saying, here's what we're allowed to do. Here's what we're recommending. Here's what we know. This is where you guys work it out. I'm not in favor of the mandated shutdown type stuff. I'm not.
Okay.
So that's I didn't express that very well.
Yeah, that's how I took it. So good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm sure Red State is too. but yeah. I mean, it's if we had health officials giving advice and people choosing to take it, not to take it. If there were churches that said, man, we've got a whole lot of really old people in here, maybe we should voluntarily. I have no issue with any of that, although I would question the church's decision, but it's not my church, not my place. But the lockdowns and the violations of the First Amendment, everybody says, yeah, but we have to do this to stay safe. And Anthony Fauci said, this is what we have to do. The only way to stop it cold. Well, it didn't stop it cold. And secondly, the cost was too high. And now we have a precedent where Sam Page says, this is what we have to do.
I think you mean King
Page, yes.
And flattening the curve, slowing the curve, whatever you want to call it, that never happened. We know things now. I mean, those last 2.5 years, we know a lot of things that we didn't know then.
I was going to say, we do have a benefit of hindsight right now.
Yeah. Right. Well, but the precedent was this could be bad, therefore let's go proactively enact prior restraint and let's criminalize things because of what might be. And by the way, in New York City, there were emergency temporary shelter hospitals set up throughout the city and Central Park that were never used all over the country.
Yeah.
People are going to be dead in the streets everywhere, and they were never used and quietly taken down, including New York City. So he's full of crap right there.
Yeah, and let's not forget, once they got that power, they were applying the health issue with everything, including gun control.
Right.
I mean,
including student loans,
student loans, everything. So once they get the control, you start to run into that issue
the
too.
The authoritarianism also has a big part in the inflation that we're dealing with right now because we had this rush to spend trillions and trillions of dollars all in the name of fighting COVID, which, by the way, still, as we now know, had a higher survival rate than the freaking flu, people.
Yeah.
That's what it tells us. Speaking
exactly
of inflation, we're going to get the latest on, yes, we've got some interest rates that are increasing. What does it mean to you? And then a little bit later on at 6:50, I don't know if you heard this coming in, Susie. We're going to have some fun. String on Reddit. People are asking, all right, what are some things people literally base their lives or personality around that are really annoying?
I can't wait to check it out.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about all still ahead right here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL starting in 4 minutes.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
You want to give me more information?
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
We already have one crash this morning, 70 westbound at Shreve. They've been out there for about 45 minutes now with a crash blocking the 2 left lanes. At about 7, maybe 8 minutes to your commute time as that traffic is backed up to Cary. That's 70 westbound at Shreve, 2 left lanes closed. I'm Joe Sonderman. That's the very latest from the News Talk STL Traffic Center, sponsored by Lowe's.
Don't miss the Energy Savings event at Lowe's. Save energy and save money on select major appliances, including Whirlpool. Selection varies by location. Exclusions apply. Visit Lowe's.com for details. Valid through 9/28.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650, 636-695 855-2650. Stiefel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Hey, Columbo here for our family dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, a one-stop solution for all your family's dental needs, including braces. Dr. Boscia uses the My Forever Smile Braces system, which straightens teeth many times in less than a year for half the price of traditional braces. Traditional braces or Invisalign can cost $6,000 or more, but Dr. Boscia only charges $29.98 for My Forever Smile, and incentives and insurance can lower the price even more. Plus, New Creation offers in-office financing. Learn more at newcreationdentalcare.com. Hey, Columbo here, and many of you know that one of my favorite things to do when I have some free time is to get out on the water and go fishing. And the folks at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton are the people you should see before your next fishing trip. No matter what you're fishing for, they have everything you need, from gear to lures to live bait. Plus, they can even set you up on a guided fishing tour on the Mississippi River. Make sure the tackle box is ready for your next trip by visiting Bluff City Outdoors at 2813 East Broadway in Alton and bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Now, the Onder Prescription with Dr. Bob Onder.
I'm Dr. Bob Onder. Last week, Governors Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott highlighted the hypocritical sanctuary city policies of Democrat mayors and governors who refuse to cooperate in the enforcement of immigration law. Illegal immigration has been a problem for years, leading Missouri to pass my House Bill 1549 in 2008. But the border crisis has gotten far worse under Joe Biden, who ended President Trump's successful Remain in Mexico and Title 42 policies. Already this fiscal year, there have been 1.9 million illegal immigrant arrests, not to mention record amounts of human trafficking and smuggling of fentanyl and methamphetamine. Some have called the sending of illegal immigrants to New York, Washington, and Martha's Vineyard a stunt. Nonsense. It is making our progressive elites finally face up to the disastrous policies they have been forcing on the rest of us. Governors, keep it up. I'm Dr. Bob, and that's my prescription.
Find more Dr. Bob Onder at bobondermo.com. St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
I don't believe the Democrats are stupid, but I think they don't care.
Live and local.
And embarrassed himself at that press conference. He's become kind of clownish, right?
Do you think he's going to run?
This is NewstalkSTL. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stiefel. Request a portfolio review from your Stiefel financial advisor at stiefel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, Ken, you don't talk for a second. Because he cheated. He looked it up already. There is a report and a study that said, what the average family in this country, what they're now spending extra just to tread water and maintain the same lifestyle you've had. The number is shocking. We're going to tell people. You have any guess as to what that would be, or did you?
It's not fair because it's on the sheet. I didn't cheat. It was like right in front of me, and it's in a big number.
All right, fine. All right, well, we'll all tell you. All right. Sorry, Ken. Because I said
it'd be
that
more
earlier.
fun if I were guessing.
I was like, yeah,
if I hadn't seen it,
it would have been more fun.
And I would not have guessed the number here. I would have guessed less than the number here.
Exactly.
Probably by at least I would probably have guessed half the number.
That's what I would have guessed too.
Well, I would have only guessed before I read about it.
Right.
The original number was 6,800.
Something like that.
Yeah.
6,200, 60 something like that. Something like that.
Yeah, and I looked at that number when I first did. I'm like, no, come on, really?
Yeah, exactly.
That's not the actual number, right?
What, 62? No,
right.
no.
Right.
No.
Okay.
That's he's saying that's what he would have guessed.
Okay.
But that's what it actually was early in the year.
Okay.
Because you've got this sort of cyclical effect now of, okay, inflation's gone up, so interest rates have gone up to try to deal with inflation.
Well, snowballs.
Exactly. And because the rising inflation or interest rates affect other parts of your life in addition to what the inflation.
Mm-hmm.
And the inflation increases have not tamped down, or the interest rate increases have not tamped down the inflation increases.
Correct.
Yeah, so it is 623. That's redstate.com's Susie Moore in for Gabe. Ken Williams, Federal Reserve raises rates 0.75%. Just in case you missed it, a few minutes ago, about 45 minutes ago, Fox Business Network's Jackie DeAngelis has more as to what that means to you and the economy.
Of course, when you make recommendations...
I do not want to hear that guy again.
That's not Jackie.
No, here's Jackie.
Jackie, you
The
sound
market
like
was
you
trading
need to-
higher for most of the session before that decision, indicating it was expecting this hike. But then, when the news broke, markets retreated, the Dow closing lower by 522 points. As the Fed hikes rates, trying to tame persistently high inflation, the economy will slow. Consumers and corporations will see higher borrowing costs, and that's going to impact the overall pace of growth. Mortgage rates over 6% now. Car loans could be breaking through 6% soon. Credit card interest rates already on the very high side. They will increase. The flip side of this, a little interest earned on savings accounts. Some high-yield online savings accounts paying close to 2%. Some argue this should be substantially higher. But still, the markets are bracing for more volatility. Jackie DeAngelis, Fox News.
Yeah, congratulations on that 2% that you're getting on your savings account.
But nobody's saving because
Right.
They can't afford to.
Exactly. Early in the year, I mean, my biggest argument was Biden kept saying, "Well, I'm not going to raise taxes." Well, you know what? It doesn't matter because we're spending at the time $6,500 somewhere around there extra in the regressive tax of inflation.
You are de facto raising them.
You are just by your policies, and he's like, no, you don't understand, and that's the bubble they're in. They don't understand what everybody else is going through.
So here's what happened is that the U.S. Congressional Joint Economic Committee and also nerdwallet.com, funny name, but they actually do a lot of really interesting studies and assessments. They decided to take a look at what the cost is for the average household. So let's take everybody together, those who are just barely getting by, in a small home or apartment or whatever, and those who live in very wealthy, affluent areas. You take it all together just in order to tread water and maintain the same lifestyle, meaning you can still go out to eat every once in a while. You can still buy the groceries you want. You still have to make your car payment, your mortgage payment, your utility payments. You still have to buy the kids shin guards for soccer season. All of those things that just to not have to change any aspect of your life, it's costing you $11,500 more this year than last year because of the inflation and the interest rate hikes that are responding to the inflation. $11,500 a year.
It's obscene.
It is obscene. It's painful. And they don't think people are going to have that. That's not going to affect the way they vote.
Right.
Well, it's the message that I worry about because everybody feels it. I'm saying everybody, no matter how much money or how little money you make, but they're not. Are they getting the message that why it's happening? Are they understanding that these are the Biden administration policies directly relating to the reason why they're paying more?
I think most people aren't like super duper partisan.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well,
I agree.
Get the message.
Right.
Just back to James Carville. It's the economy, stupid.
Exactly. I mean, even people who are just like, I just vote my station in life right now, and that's the worst nightmare for Democrats is that they vote their station in life right now.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, recessions happened. Mild ones happen from time to time.
Cyclical.
It's part of the cycle.
Right.
Expansion, contraction. You just hope that overall that it carries more people in a better position.
Absolutely.
Over the long haul.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at this isn't even about luxuries. When we're talking about your lifestyle, people tend to hear that word and think luxury. We're not talking about luxury.
No.
We're talking about are you still able to donate to the charities that you support, to the tithing to the church that you go to? Yes, going out and taking a vacation or a retreat, but also we're talking about heating and cooling your home, fixing the car when something goes wrong, making the repair to your house,
right,
getting your kids into sports, all of those things that encompass our lifestyle. That's what we're talking about, $11,500 more. And as a related note, credit card balances in the United States are at almost record highs right now.
Fancy that.
People are leaning on their credit cards.
They have to.
Dave's on the phone.
All right.
And as you might imagine, he has something to say.
Dave?
Oh, that Dave. Hey, Dave, you're on NewstalkSTL. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, all. My prayers to you. Prayers to everyone. It never hurts to pray for everybody.
Absolutely. I appreciate it when
Thanks,
people
Dave.
sincerely say that.
Hey, I'm trying to keep it simple. I'm not a business guy. I just use basic common sense, which I guess is lacking 98% of the world except for this station. So if people are hurting and they think they're going to fix it by raising interest rates, I'm just using me. My wife and I were going to borrow $100,000 to upgrade our house substantially, do this, do that, do the other. And I told my wife, I go with the vegetable in the White House. I just can't see putting our life on the line for another $100,000 when we don't know anything. I said, so unfortunately, we're going to have to piecemeal the improvements to our house. I don't understand their logic. The Democrats are like, okay, we're sinking, we're underwater. I'm $500,000 under debt, so I'm going to go out and spend $1.5 million to help get out of debt. That does not make any sense, or as Spock would say, it's not logical.
Mm.
Can you guys help me understand this? Because I don't think I'm stupid, but I don't understand the idiocy out of the federal government at all.
Well, I mean, I think the fact that you've identified the idiocy means that you understand it more than you realize.
Yeah.
Well, what they don't understand or what they don't care about is the effects that they're having on everybody's life. My wife and I have some home improvement projects that we're doing right now, and we did the same thing you did, Dave. We're like, okay, we're waiting until we can just pay it cash. You know, we financed one thing before all these interest rates happened, so we're locked in on that. But one of the worst things you can do right now is buy something on credit, which includes houses, homes, improvements, cars. I mean, everything, and it's going to take years for us to dig out of this, Dave.
You know, obviously we remember, and a lot of people want to give Clinton more credit than what he deserves. You guys remember interest rates for some houses were 15%.
Mm-hmm.
Credit cards were 25%.
Yep.
In my lifetime, the only two presidents that I can say were worth a hoot were Trump and Reagan, because everything sandwiched in between them was a big crap burger. And then this vegetable we have, you know, when you make Obama and Carter look competent, you have to be a special kind of stupid.
Yeah, but they're coming out with now that there's so much behind the scenes happening that he's not even making decisions. I mean, look what he's doing over there with Russia or China, and saying that he's going to defend Taiwan with military action if needed. But then everybody else behind him in the scenes are saying, his advisors are saying, no, that's just not true. And that's happened 4 times now. So that vegetable in the White House right now is not exactly in control, Dave.
Hey, Dave, I got to get to an information segment. Thanks for leading us off here, my friend. And by the way, when it comes to Clinton, keep in mind that Clinton was kept in check by Newt Gingrich and Bob Dole-led Congress.
Yes.
That's why it's crucial to take away power from the fringe left in the elections. Some people call it gridlock. I call it sweet damage control.
Mitigation.
Keep that in mind. All right, just ahead here, we're going to talk to John Payne from Legal Mode 22 about Amendment 3, marijuana legalization. Let's kind of prime the pump for that discussion, because I think, Susie, there's a lot of confusion over the entire discussion of legalization, which is hurting the decriminalization movement.
It is.
Let's talk about that right around 6:36 on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL. The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
They're going after him to intimidate us as Americans.
News, analysis, opinion.
This is a very convenient way to just throw a little more mud on Donald Trump.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
From the Newstalk STL newsroom, I'm Joey Vasovich. Missourians could get a break on state income taxes under a proposal approved by the Senate on Wednesday. Senators voted 24-4 to send the bill to the House for consideration. The roughly $1 billion proposal would cut the top income tax rate from 5.3% to 4.95% beginning in 2023. A 29-year-old Berkeley man convicted in June of murdering a North County Police cooperative officer in 2019 received a life sentence plus an additional 40 years in prison. A circuit judge on Wednesday sentenced the man for the murder of Officer Michael Langsdorf at Clay's Wellston Food Market on Page Boulevard. A 23-year-old Table Grove, Illinois woman died after falling out of the sunroof of a car early Tuesday morning on Interstate 64 near the Poplar Street Bridge. The front seat passenger was standing through the sunroof of a Mercedes-Benz Z300 and fell out when the driver was navigating a curve. The J.D. Power North American Airport Satisfaction Study put Lambert as the 23rd out of 27th airports of a similar size. The 17th annual report, which came out Tuesday, quizzed more than 26,500 travelers from the U.S. and Canada. And in sports, the Cardinals fell to the Padres 1-0 in San Diego last night. This was the Cardinals' third straight game without earning a single run. The Redbirds and Padres wrap up their 3-game series tonight, starting at 3:10 p.m. For in-depth coverage of these stories and more, go to NewstalkSTL.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
We already have one crash this morning, 70 westbound at Shreve. They've been out there for about 45 minutes now with a crash blocking the 2 left lanes. At about 7, maybe 8 minutes to your commute time as that traffic is backed up to Cary. That's 70 westbound at Shreve, 2 left lanes closed. I'm Joe Sonderman. That's the very latest from the Newstalk STL Traffic Center, sponsored by Lowe's.
Don't miss the Energy Savings event at Lowe's. Save energy and save money on select major appliances, including Whirlpool. Selection varies by location. Exclusions apply. Visit Lowe's.com for details. Valid through 9/28.
From the Newstalk STL Weather Center.
Cloudy skies and cooler temperatures this morning and throughout the day. Nice and dry for the drive in St. Louis under those cloudy skies. Temperatures in the low 60s. And remaining mainly cloudy with some peaks of sunshine today, but a cooler day after the 96 yesterday. 72 for the high today. Lows tonight in the low 50s and the high tomorrow in the mid 60s under mostly cloudy skies with a few light showers around on Friday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Newstalk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. Doug and Safe Money Radio is on 3 times every weekend, but in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com or call 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Are you downright disgusted with the corruption of our Democratic leadership at St. Louis City Hall that's been reported in the news?
Hi, this is Mary Teresa McLean, Chair of the Republican Party City of St. Louis. If you want to put our city that we all love back on track, you must get involved. If you're ready to be part of the solution, we invite you. Come and meet us. Learn more at stlouisrepublicans.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
The Labor Day event from Dell Technologies is here. End the summer strong by starting up a new season of productivity. Your business upgrade begins with up to 48% off top-rated laptops, like Vostro, taking performance to the next level with 12th Gen Intel Core processors. It's time to push your growing business even further. What's next for you? Upgrade today by calling 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
When a nasty cold keeps you up all night, Vicks NyQuil Severe gives you powerful relief from your worst cold and flu symptoms, which changes a night that sounds like this into a night that sounds more like this. Ah, that's better. NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, sore throat, stuffy head, aching, fever, best sleep with a cold, medicine. Use as directed.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
It's Thursday, and at 3:40, we'll talk to Dr. Randy Tobler, and at 4:25, we'll catch up with Jim Carafano from the Heritage Foundation.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on Newstalk STL. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is Newstalk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewstalkSTL.com.
All right, 6:50. This is going to be fascinating.
I'm looking forward to this.
So there was a thread that happened on Reddit. I think that's what you call them on Reddit. I really don't spend that much time on Reddit, but I was in almost none. But somebody said, name an annoying thing that people base their entire personality around. And there's a list that I'm looking at, and I'm thinking, I know people who hit almost every single one of these.
Yeah.
And I can actually think of one or two more.
Mm-hmm.
I want to throw one out just out there, and it
Sure.
might be completely wrong, but dog lovers, just for an example.
Or you could even expand it to like animal lovers.
Animal lovers.
Absolutely.
I feel seen.
There you go.
Why?
You want to see
Susie? I have a reason why I just said that.
You want to see cute puppers? Then follow Smoozy Q.
That's
on
exactly
social
right.
media. All right, it's 6:38 right now. We're going to do that around 6:50. RedState.com's Susie Moore is here. Smoozy Q on social media. Ken Williams is here. I'm Mike Ferguson.
I'm Ken Show 94.1 by the way
on Twitter.
On Twitter.
And what are you on the others? On Getter.
Well, on Truth Social, I'm Ken_Williams.
Okay.
And then on, I guess I'm Ken
You don't
Show
spend-
90. Ken Show 94.1 on Getter.
On Getter, yeah.
Yeah. And on Getter, I'm at Mike on the radio.
Yep.
And then on Twitter, I'm at AVP Radio Show, which stands for American Viewpoints, my syndicated show, which, by the way, good one this coming weekend. You definitely want to check that out
Awesome.
here on News Talk STL. Don't forget, you've got October 9th, I think,
Yep.
is that the
October 9th.
Freedom Fest barbecue is happening. Our own Tim Jones and Chris Arps are the co-MCs of that event, which is happening at the GOP headquarters in Fenton. Go to stlyrs.com, or you can go to News Talk STL for more information. And if Tim and Chris aren't enough of a reason for you to go there, and I don't know why it wouldn't be, but if you want more, Eric Schmidt's going to be there. Ann Wagner's going to be there. Jay Ashcroft is going to be there. Nick Shore is going to be there. A number of other candidates and office holders are going to be there. And they've got barbecue. And it's all supporting the St. Louis County Young Republicans, which is a very conservative young Republican group. And they put in the work. Those young Republicans, a lot of times I've seen young Republicans around the country. And, they get together once a month and they drink beer and they complain about liberals. The St. Louis County Republicans actually train young people on how to do the work, and they are truly a conservative group, so worthy of support there.
So barbecue and freedom.
Barbecue and freedom.
Doesn't get better than that.
Exactly.
America.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so we're talking to John Payne around 8:30. I think it's 8:35. We're talking to John Payne. He is the director of Legal Mo 22, which is the group behind the Amendment 3 referendum that we're voting on in November. And that would decriminalize recreational marijuana for the most part. And it's a constitutional amendment. There are people pushing back against it, including some pro-legalization folks as well. Matter of fact, we're going to talk to them tomorrow, Susie. So I just want to kind of prime that conversation. As I'm observing this entire discussion, I think everybody would agree, even those who are against legalization would agree that the mindset of let's just decriminalize this is growing throughout Missouri and the country.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's debatable. Yes, there are people who still oppose it. I get that. I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm just saying that I think the longer we go, the more people say, why are we still making this a criminal offense? But with the decriminalization and legalization debate in Missouri, I think the confusion over it from within the legalization movement may be something that's slowing that movement down, if that makes any sense.
It does make sense because people have questions, they have reservations, and they're being asked to vote on a constitutional amendment about it. And if they're wanting to vote in an informed way, they want to understand what exactly they're being asked to vote on.
And that's one of the things where anything in politics and policy is complex and it's nuanced, and that's why we have a republic as opposed to a direct democracy for the most part, because we don't necessarily directly make the decisions. We elect the people to make the decisions and then hold them accountable to us. That's the system that we have. In this case right here, there is a place for direct democracy. I don't have any issue with that. But you're not, if you want to be fully informed on Amendment 3, you can obviously read and listen to all the media coverage of it. Hopefully listen to the conversation with John Payne because we're going to ask him a lot of questions about it. But ultimately, if you wanted to fully understand it, you need to read all 39 pages and have a lawyer explain it to you if you're not an attorney.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that in itself makes something bad. I'm just saying is that creates a lot of the confusion and hesitancy.
39 pages for a constitutional amendment is a red flag for me.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, and we're going to ask John about that.
I mean, 39 words.
You're right.
It's kind of pushing it.
Yeah, because you've got 39 pages to legalize or decriminalize something? Why does it take that much? And that's what we'll ask John. I mean, and I am saying, listen, there is nuance. There is a lot in there. And the question as to why it's a constitutional amendment as opposed to legislation, why is the legislature being cut out? Absolutely fair questions. Then obviously as much of the details of the amendment as we can possibly get in there. But there's a lot of confusion, which may hurt its chances because you've got significant parts of the pro-legalization movement who are objecting to this and saying, we want to legalize, but we want to do it a different way.
It's a lot to think about.
It is. It is. And then tomorrow we've got the, I guess, anti-Amendment 3 side is going to be on
They're
the program.
pro-legalization, but anti-amendment.
Pro-legalization. And I'm actually keeping an eye out. If there is an organized campaign.
Like one eye.
That's right.
Literally.
I didn't say I'm keeping my eyes out. I'm keeping my eye out. The right one. That's the one I can use right now. I am looking for if there is a anti-legalization campaign against Amendment 3. I'll talk to them too. We'll get them on the air here. I don't necessarily agree with them, but I would, hey, they want to get involved in the policy. They can have their say.
Sure.
My biggest problem with the whole thing is as people get involved to find out more about the nuances of this whole thing. What is right? I mean, my concern is I might choose this Amendment 3 and it be the wrong one, and then there might be a better one up the road. We don't know. With 39 pages in one bill, and then another one, who knows? It could have 50 pages. I mean, it's so confusing for the average citizen.
And that's why I think the best thing we can do is clarify it as much as we can, and then obviously people will make an informed decision as best that they can.
Yeah.
And there may be people who say, I have problems with parts of this, but the good outweighs the bad, and I'm going to go. And that's fair, too.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the conversation with John in the 8 o'clock hour, which will then be posted on our podcast at NewstalkSTL.com or wherever you get your podcast. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed to our podcast, I mean, I don't care what platform you're on, just look up StL and hit subscribe, and then you're going to hear interviews and segments or entire shows, whatever you want, you pick from all of the shows here
and
as well.
And a lot of them, isn't it that if you sign up, you subscribe, it goes right to your phone?
Yeah. You get an alert, then you get an alert, and then you can say, yep, I want to listen to that, or I don't. But it makes it real easy to share with your friends who need to hear what was said here.
It does indeed.
Those who agree, those who disagree. If you got somebody you got to set them straight on something, you send them this.
There you go.
All right. Just ahead, annoying things people base their entire personalities around. I can think of one or two things on that are not on the list, and I know people who are on this list. 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
For podcast articles and more, find us on NewstalkSTL.com. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewstalkSTL.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Crews have been on the scene for about an hour now. 70 westbound at Shreve with an injury crash. They've got the two left lanes closed, jammed back to Cary. That's about a 9 to 10 minute delay. Now we've got a crash northbound on 55 south of 270. It's mostly on the right side, but they may have part of the right lane. Looks like fire and EMS crews are on the scene there. That's 55 northbound between Butler Hill and 270. Slow traffic. This report sponsored by Lowe's, and I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Don't miss the Energy Savings Event at Lowe's. Save energy and save money on select major appliances, including Whirlpool. Selection varies by location. Exclusions apply. Visit Lowe's.com for details. Valid through 9/28.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Thanks for taking my call.
Right here.
You know what's going on?
Have a great awakening.
You see through the smoke screen.
It's cool to be woke.
News Talk STL.
Until it's not.
News, analysis, opinion.
The St. Louis Young Republicans and 1019 94.1 News Talk STL is proud to present the Freedom Fest Barbecue, Sunday, October 9th. Tim Jones and I will be emceeing the luncheon at the St. Louis County GOP headquarters. Adult tickets are $30, student tickets are $20, and kid tickets are $5. We will have special guests like Attorney General Eric Schmidt, Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft, State Senator Bill Eigel, and more. Stand against tyranny, strengthen the conservative movement, and enjoy tasty eats at the Freedom Fest Barbecue. For more information, visit NewstalkSTL.com.
From home improvement to replacement,
Do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
Columbo and Katie.
This has been going on for years, especially over the last 2 years when the border has been wide open. States like Arizona and Texas and Florida, there's nowhere along the southern border for all of these people to go. And it's been Democrat policy to give migrants bus tickets and plane tickets and let them go anywhere they want.
Tony Columbo, Katie Fitzpatrick. Weekdays at 2 on Newstalk STL.
Since 2007, the state of Missouri and local governments have handed out almost $5 billion in tax subsidies or abatements to private developers. That money could have gone to basic services like schools and public safety. And studies show these subsidies don't produce the promised jobs and growth. If developers want to build a sports stadium or shopping mall, why should they be given our tax dollars to do it? It's time to reform economic development subsidies. The Show Me message has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Subscribe and watch your favorite Newstalk STL shows.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. The Vic Porcelli Show. Columbo and Katie. Jones and Arps.
Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble.
Subscribe and watch
Newstalk STL. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. You're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on Newstalk STL.
All right, this is going to be fun here in just about a minute and a half, 2 minutes or so. This thread that says, name an annoying thing people base their entire personality around. And there are so many people who do that. They kind of decide who and what they are is based on something that is they're passionate about. And so we'll go through some of the things that kind of rose to the top of that thread, that discussion at Reddit, and see if you know anybody who fits these descriptions, because I sure do. I'm Mike Ferguson, 651. Got Susie Moore from redstate.com in for Gabe today. Ken Williams is here. Before we do that, we've got to Eric, who had some thoughts on the Amendment 3 situation. So, Eric, you're on Newstalk STL.
Hey, good morning. So I think the biggest thing with Amendment 3 that people need to realize, the knee-jerk reaction, I think, for probably the older generation is, oh, my God, we're going to go to the doctor's office. The doctor's going to be stoned. The employees are going to be high. Yeah, really, this is no different if you look at the bare bones of it than alcohol. I mean, should you use it and drive? Probably not. Will people do it? Probably. But
they do it now. I can smell it all the time.
Yeah, right. And one thing that I will tell you is I used to own my own business, and I will tell you, I would take a guy that went home, smoked a joint, and went to bed, came to work any day over the guys that went out and had like 14 beers and came to work the next day, because they weren't worth anything to me at all. And personally, I'm a user. I have my card because I've got a bad knee and a bad back, and I can tell you when I take mine, all I want to do is go to sleep. You know, as long as I got my house, stocked with snacks, but otherwise, I want to go to sleep. So I think the initial knee-jerk reaction may cause this not to pass. But I mean, hopefully they can have something in there, at least for medicinal purposes, that sticks.
Yeah.
But,
and this is building on the medical marijuana legalization and basically expanding that to recreational. So yeah, medical marijuana is very well protected in Missouri.
Right. And I mean, also you have to consider too, the people that are already doing it, it might save them but from going to some unsavory place and buying from Dimebag Dave on the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think they should be incarcerated for regular use. I mean, honestly, that needs to be decriminalized.
Yeah, if somebody still wants to throw somebody in jail for smoking a joint, I want to debate them on this show, and I don't use,
and I don't either. But
yeah,
right.
Yep.
I have to ask though, real quick on Reddit, is one of the things people
what?
Is one of the things that gets annoyed. I guess you said that Reddit poll.
Yeah.
What was it again?
Annoying things people base their entire personality around.
Yeah, I base my personality around annoying people.
There you go. Hey, thanks. I appreciate you being on the
Thanks,
program.
Eric.
When he said people, I actually, that's a category that I said I've actually seen people who do this. So here are the top couple ones here. So the question came down to, what are the things that somebody bases everything, not everything, but basically their personality around. And one of the number one was sports fan.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who, if you meet them, everything about them is all about sports.
Yeah.
They're the 50-year-old guy who wears the jersey.
Right.
The guy who can tell you what the WAR is of his favorite baseball player, and if you don't know what that means, then you probably can't be friends with him. You met people like that, right?
Oh, I know people like that.
Yeah,
for sure.
I do too. And sometimes they're good-natured, and sometimes they just have to be off in their own niche.
Yes.
But that's just one area, just one. Another one, and this is interesting to me because another one is your job, your vocation.
Okay.
Now, because in Western society, particularly among dudes, among us men, a lot of our identity is based on what we do for a living.
Well, as an attorney,
yes,
I can tell you that's not exclusive to men.
Right. No, it's not exclusive, but
yeah.
But I mean, we're just talking about.
But that was
studies.
a huge factor in my making a career change because my identity was built around the fact that I'm a practicing attorney.
Absolutely. I mean,
it was weird.
Yeah, other jobs. I mean, and I'm not saying this is good or bad or otherwise. Whether it's firefighter, military, law enforcement, teachers.
Mm-hmm.
In our case, media people. I mean, that's one thing that people tend to base a personality around. Sometimes. Now, sometimes your personality just lends you to that and attracts you to it. Other times, you develop a personality based on your vocation.
Right.
I would say the last year and 2 months or so, it's been this job. That for me, that's been defining me. It's never been that way before. Before that, and I would say probably if there were two, it'd be my kids.
Yeah. Okay.
And my wife.
Sure.
That whole thing there. That family structure.
Sure.
That's my life. But this lately has been that. Yeah.
Okay. How about this one? I'm gonna tread on a landmine here. Politics.
Oh.
I know people that you're not going to believe this, but I don't revolve my whole life around that. But I do know people who do.
Oh, I know lots of people who do.
Yeah, and as somebody, that's literally my job pretty much 24/7. And I've always been a political junkie, so I'd say that might be me in a way. But I also think that there are plenty of people in my life that know that we can go do stuff and it's not about politics.
Right. You can set it aside.
So it's part of my identity, but
people are surprised.
Not consuming.
Yeah, people are surprised to me. Like they see me like, oh, let's talk politics. My line is, I'm off duty.
Yeah,
I'm off duty, guys. But that is party sometimes. It's ideological sometimes, especially like, for instance, if somebody is in the green environmentalist movement or the libertarian movement, there are people who base their personalities around personalities.
Yeah.
Donald Trump obviously is one. Barack Obama was another big one.
Sure.
You could, to some degree, maybe go back and say Reagan. You could do that.
Yeah.
So there were some of those. I mean, there's a lot of these here. Maybe in the 8 o'clock hour, we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
I would also say that you could have one that would say religion. And I don't mean somebody who has faith. I mean, like, I'm Catholic.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Baptist.
I know people like that.
I'm Lutheran.
Yeah.
I'm atheist. I think those are some of those as well.
Agreed.
Interesting conversation. I want to do this again at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
All right, just ahead, Eric Robert from Stifel. Let's make sense of what's happening in the economy and the interest rates and the inflation and the supply chain and all of the
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they're very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They're in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
No paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Packages start at $29.99 a month with signed agreement. Restrictions apply. Speak to a representative for complete offer details. See Vivint.com for license details. Terms and conditions apply.
Homeowners, if you're looking for the best in home security and smart home technology at a price you can actually afford, we have great news. Now you can get Vivint's award-winning home security systems starting at about $1 a day. U.S. News and World Report has recognized Vivint as the best professionally installed home security system of 2022. And right now, you can get Vivint's home security technology for about $1 a day. Plus, get free professional installation from a licensed technician. Protect your home and loved ones for as low as $1 a day. Call right now for your free home security consultation.
800-561-3405. 800-561-3405. 800-561-3405. That's 800-561-3405.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewstalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Britain is giving a green light to a technology that helped the U.S. win energy independence under then-President Trump. The UK government, led by newly minted Prime Minister Liz Truss, is lifting a 2019 ban on fracking. Here's BBC's Theo Leggett.
Whatever gas does ultimately get extracted from any fracking wells in this country will be sold, unless the rules have changed a lot, at international prices, so would be unlikely to have any effect on what people pay long term either. What it does do, in theory at least, is boost energy security a little bit, provides more domestic sources of energy. But there's an awful lot of uncertainty here. We simply don't know how much recoverable gas is underground in this country.
But they'll find out, and Europe is dreading what could be a long, cold winter due to the loss of Russian energy supplies. In a bid to fight the fires of inflation,
the Fed has lifted its benchmark interest rate to the highest level since 2008, between 3% and 3.25%. And that should push up borrowing costs, or it will push up borrowing costs for things like mortgages, auto loans, business loans. And the Fed hopes that by raising the cost of borrowing, it will slow spending and therefore slow the economy a bit, and then that will bring down inflation.
Hopefully without deepening the recession. That's correspondent Chris Rugeber reporting. Ukrainian President Zelensky in a virtual address to the UN urging world leaders to tighten the screws on Russia over its invasion of Ukraine. Amid setbacks, Vladimir Putin is calling up reservists to join the fight, and that has triggered demonstrations, over 1,000 arrests all across Russia. Watching Wall Street, the Dow futures down 14 points. NASDAQ futures off 45. S&P futures 9 points lower. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Dennis Prager here to share a product that can help keep everyone more healthy, Cofix RX. Most of us know that viruses of all types are a part of life. What we don't always know are the right products that could be protecting us. So I'd like to tell you about Cofix RX and its doctor-approved secret ingredient. As a safety measure, many doctors and nurses have been using iodine to swab their noses for decades. Iodine has been in use since 1811, and 96% of us are iodine deficient. Using Cofix RX antiviral nasal spray with povidone iodine is a smart way to stay healthy. Cofix RX is made right here in the USA. It's simple to use. You spray it up your nose, and the iodine destroys germs and pathogens where they multiply in the nasal cavity. Check out CofixRx.com. That's COFIXRX.com for a retailer near you, or use the coupon code Prager for 20% off at CofixRx.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
On 55 northbound, you've got some busy traffic running up between Butler Hill and 270. There's a crash on the right shoulder there that has a tow truck on the scene and a lot of flashing lights. 70 westbound has thinned out Adelaide to Shreve, where we had an earlier crash. Papa Street Bridge traffic normal so far this morning. No huge delays reported there. If you're inbound on 70 or 6440, you're still in pretty good shape. This report sponsored by Lowe's, and I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Don't miss the Energy Savings event at Lowe's. Save energy and save money on select major appliances, including Whirlpool. Selection varies by location. Exclusions apply. Visit Lowe's.com for details. Valid through 9/28.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Cloudy skies and cooler temperatures this morning and throughout the day. Nice and dry for the drive in St. Louis under those cloudy skies. Temperatures in the low 60s. And remaining mainly cloudy with some peaks of sunshine today, but a cooler day after the 96 yesterday. 72 for the high today. Lows tonight in the low 50s and the high tomorrow in the mid 60s under mostly cloudy skies with a few light showers around on Friday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by House Sold Easy. Looking to sell a house fast? Call David today at 314-293-3000. That's David with House Sold Easy at 314-293-3000.
When you read financial news updates, popular headlines include inflation, 401ks, and taxes, but bottom line, it all comes back to the number one fear, which is running out of money. If you're close or in retirement, you have two big jobs: protect your life savings and create income for retirement. So how do you do that? You call Steve All and the team at the All Financial Group, and you put together a customized, comprehensive plan. Start checking off those boxes for income for life, tax-free retirement, and much more.
Let's sit down and talk about your questions, because I think that's the most important thing that it is out there. It's what questions do you have?
Call today, 636-230-8824. That's 636-230-8824. Or go to yourmoneymattersstl.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities, licensed in Missouri and Illinois.
St. Louis's place to talk.
The American people have further lost faith in our governmental institutions.
People can decide what they want and how they want to live.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion. Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple dog dare you!
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
I tried something new with the Kofifi dance there. Bad idea to try to floss when you've got hot coffee in your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
no.
try to figure something else
Yeah,
out.
that's why it kind of limits the moves.
Actually, probably a bad idea for a 50-year-old man to
I
try
was
to
gonna say,
floss anyway.
maybe
but
ever.
Just saying. Not doing that again. All right. If you are watching us on Rumble or YouTube or Facebook or where else are we?
Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook
Rumble,
right now.
YouTube, and
Mhm.
Facebook.
Right.
And you saw that debacle.
And to be clear, you meant the dance, the floss,
The
not
dance, yes.
actually flossing. Because
No,
flossing
no,
is
no.
good for you.
It is. I actually did that once this month. It's 7:07. We've got Susie Moore from RedState.com in for Gabe Pfeiffer. Ken Williams is here. Now joined by our good friend Eric Robert from Stifel Financial. Of course, you can hear him every weekend here on News Talk STL as well. And Eric, I think a lot of people see the charts, they see the numbers, they hear 0.75% interest rate hike. All the talking heads on the business networks, talk in technical financial business terms. And I think people say, well, I know this is significant and I want to sound smart, but the reality is that this really does have an effect on us, but we've got inflation, then the interest rates, and then the inflation, and then the interest rates, and eventually the interest rates are affecting other parts of the economy. It can be overwhelming to a lot of people. What is actually happening to our personal financial lives right now?
Well, it's coming at you from all sides right now as an individual, and especially for business owners in this rising rate environment. So, the Federal Reserve is taking very seriously its mandate to maintain stable prices. That's part of its twofold mandate. Full employment and stable prices is really the Fed's job. And now that inflation has gotten out of control over the last 18 months, the Fed, starting in March and then in June and July, has taken the most aggressive rate hike path that we've really experienced in history in order to combat this inflation. But what that means for a lot of individuals is higher loan rates. Mortgages, as we've seen, are up over 6%. Credit card rates are going up dramatically. If you have an adjustable rate HELOC or anything like that, you're being impacted by these higher rates. On the flip side, though, it's not all bad news. For people who've been sitting on a lot of cash, or maybe you had cash in savings or what have you, we've had a lot of these folks come out of the woodwork as clients recently, where you can actually get a pretty decent yield on a money market account, upwards of 2.3 up to 3% in some cases. So it's not all bad news with the rising rates, but it does have a dramatic impact on how individuals and businesses carry on economically, and that's going to bleed out into the earnings of companies as well as the broader economic picture.
Eric, this is Susie Moore. Quick question about the Fed. I know they made their decision yesterday, and there's some indication that there may be additional hikes, before the year is done. What is it that they're looking for to determine when they, have gotten to that sweet spot, if you will, of actually having a positive effect on the inflation rate?
Sure, Susie. It makes me smile whenever you bring up the term the Fed getting to a sweet spot, because it would be so nice if the way monetary policy worked was they could just kind of move it a little bit at a time, and right when we get to that Goldilocks number, it's fine. But in what history tells us is oftentimes the Fed will overshoot that sweet spot, sometimes considerably. And that's what we call a policy error. And the reason why is because all of the data is lagging. So what the Fed's looking for is 3 or 4 consecutive months of CPI figures. And in their case, they're really looking at what's called PCE inflation. That's their preferred gauge, to start dipping after 3 or 4 months. Well, they're not going to know until they've likely already hiked rates too far. Now, what we learned yesterday, and this is why you saw markets respond pretty dramatically, particularly once Fed Chair Powell spoke, was the 75 basis point increase yesterday was not a surprise at all. Prediction markets had it on the table for well over a month, and we were prepared for that. But the Federal Reserve clarified what it believes its terminal rate will be. And that means it's the rate that they'll stop hiking, that they believe they'll stop hiking today. So to give you some perspective, we started the year with a target rate of 0 to 0.25%. All the way now, we are in September, we're all the way up to 3 to 3.25%. That's a huge move. Yeah. The terminal rate the Fed has thrown out for this cycle is 4.6%. That's a full, 1.6% above where we are, either 2 more 75 basis hikes or, several 25 or 50 basis point hikes. But that's a whole tightening cycle in itself. So long story short, the Fed's saying we have a ways to go, and we've just reached the portion of what we would call restrictive monetary policy in this inflationary environment.
We're speaking with Eric Robert from Stifel. In full disclosure, this is Ken Williams, and he is my advisor. Good morning, Eric. There are a lot of people. Good morning. There are a lot of people out there, that can save. Believe it or not, in this atmosphere, in this climate that we have right now, financially. What would a person that doesn't have accounts or doesn't have a 401k? What's their first step that they should be able to do if they just have, like, say, for example, if they have, if they get money just outside, like gig economy stuff? What's the first step that they might be able to do?
Spend less than you earn. It really comes to building wealth is as simple as saving money and investing it well for the long term. And there's no bad time to start. There's no place that's too small to start. You've just got to get rolling, and you'll be shocked if you can work in that regular habit of saving, try and make it a meaningful percent, 3%, 5%. I encourage people to get up to 10 or 15% of their income. and just putting it in a saving and acting like it doesn't exist. If you can pull that off for a year, you very likely can pull it off for the rest of your life, and you'll be able to, amass quite a bit of wealth if you do that well.
Okay, Eric, I want to follow up on what you're talking about with the interest rates and the debts that people have. A lot of people, credit card debt, mortgage rate debt, car loan debt, whatever it is. When these interest rates go up, that affects the payments for a lot of people. What should people prioritize? And overall, I mean, obviously everything's individual and they should talk to you about their individual situation, but overall, what are some priorities people should take when it comes to managing the way that debt affects your day-to-day and month-to-month budget?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways people like to answer that question. The spreadsheet answer is typically pay off the highest interest rate debt first. However, if you have adjustable rate debt, so that would be things like a credit card. Oftentimes, a home equity loan or a HELOC will be adjustable rate. It's pretty rare that you see an auto loan with an adjustable rate at this point, but I'd be more concerned about hanging on to adjustable rate debt in this sort of cycle because it's actively getting more expensive for you.
That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that people they're kind of caught in this sort of in between where they're running short because everything is costing more, and they are trying to bridge the gap with things like credit cards, that sort of thing. Is there a piece of advice for people to bust out of that cycle? I know obviously the most important thing is to spend less than you're bringing in, but are there other pieces of advice that go along with that?
Yeah, if you guys are familiar with Dave Ramsey, he's not aired in St. Louis to my knowledge, but I've always been a big Dave Ramsey fan. Went down to his studio whenever I paid off my last student loans years and years and years ago. And I think if you're having trouble keeping money off of your credit cards, I'm not as anti-credit card as Dave Ramsey is. If you can manage it well, that's fine. Pay it off each cycle, you're great. But if you've proven to yourself that you can't do that, cut it up. Just put it on ice. Literally get it out of your wallet for a while. Don't use it until you can get your handle on that. I don't know a better way if you're having trouble getting out of that cycle than to simply, you got to pump the brakes hard and stop. Yep. And that's going to force some real decisions. But, the longer you delay forcing those difficult decisions, the worse the situation's going to be.
Yeah, I think that Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey is something every young couple should read. I think it's a really
completely agree.
Absolutely.
Completely agree.
I took his course through my church.
Yeah, one of the best. I've actually met Ramsey a couple times. One of the things my daughter told me on the phone last night, Eric, and hopefully she'll be calling you soon, is that she goes, "Well, I don't have any credit cards. I can pay for what I need with my debit cards." And I said, "Good, right now, good."
Yep.
There's a place to build credit because I think a lot of people are like, "Well, I've got to have a good credit score," but going into debt with an insane interest rate could be one of those big mistakes people make right now.
Yeah, and you can build the credit without using the credit card that much. You don't have to make it the thing you do all your spending on. If you have one charge every couple cycles, it's going to keep the line open for you. That's going to help your credit score just as much as anything. And then carry on with your debit card if that's what's convenient for you.
I know we got to end soon, Eric. But someone asked me this question, and I was wanting to bring it to you. If you use your credit card for groceries and everyday things, gasoline, and then pay it off at the end of the month. Is that suggested?
That's fine. Listen, I do it, Ken. I mean, I have rewards credit cards and things like that. And so there's a reason why all the banks set up the rewards where you get this nice psychological boost that, I had to spend $2,000 and they gave me $20 back. And I feel so good about it. But it's a little bit extra that you can put toward the bill or whatever. I don't have an issue with that as long as you're paying it off each month.
Right.
That's the critical factor.
Yeah, and that goes back to that, spending less than you're making and not building up those balances, especially with these interest rates going up. And I think a lot of people forget, the details in that long application for that credit card that are at about a 3 font where nobody reads it, but it's legal. When these interest rate goes up, it costs people more and your monthly payment goes up. All right, Stifel's On the Money radio show airs on NewstalkSTL every Saturday from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Eric, appreciate you being on the program again. We'll look forward to Saturday as always.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Eric.
Ken.
Thanks, Eric.
And, of course, look up, Stifel.com.
Yes.
As well. So you can get good advice because when things change like this is the time to get that expert advice, and you've got to get out in front of it. You've got to get out in front of it, because I don't think that the pressures for interest and inflation, they're not going away anytime soon.
No, and if you can get a purchase like at a Home Depot where they give you interest free for 12 months, that's something to jump on too.
Yeah,
I've got one of those.
Yeah. It's really all about not letting the compound interest eat you alive.
Yep.
All right, just ahead, there's some justice finally meted out for a cop killer in the St. Louis area. And then a little bit later on, why is the left continuing to keep the death grip, white-knuckle death grip on COVID fear-mongering? They are doing anything they can to keep that alive. We'll talk about that around 7:35 here on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
You want to give me more information?
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Not too bad this morning. They are wrapping up with a crash northbound on 55 south of 270. Was blocking the right lane, but it looks like it's off to the side now. Traffic's just busy at that point. Then you have the normal slowdowns as you head into the work zone in South St. Louis, coming up from Bayless towards Loughborough. 270 northbound is just off the pace a little bit right at Gravois and right at Manchester. It's not jammed at all yet. 70 eastbound and 64 eastbound from St. Charles County still look good. Bridge complex downtown, you can take your pick of all the bridges. They are still clear. This report sponsored by Blindster. Want to save big on new blinds? Blindster.com offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped right to you at prices less than big box retailers. Shop Blindster now and save 45% off any order. Just use the code RADIO. Offer ends soon. Shop today at Blindster.com. I'm Joe Sonderman. That's the latest from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
The Range St. Louis West is Missouri's best indoor shooting range. With 20 climate-controlled lanes, over 70 firearms available to rent, and the best staff in the business, you're guaranteed to enjoy every minute of your time with us. Our impressive showroom is full of the latest and greatest offerings from the best manufacturers in the business. Need an optic, spare magazines, holster, or any other accessory? Let our professional staff help you find exactly what you need and get it installed for you. Mention you heard us on News Talk STL and save $100 on your membership and enjoy even more goodies. The Range St. Louis West. Are you ready?
Do you have a property that is more hassle than is worth? Hi, this is David with House Sold Easy, and I buy houses cash. If you own a property and want to sell it fast at a fair price, call me at 314-293-3000. Do you own an ugly property, a behind on mortgage payment property, a lazy tenant that won't pay rent property, a too much junk and clutter property, or even a, hey, I'm curious about a fair cash offer property? Well, don't worry. I buy them all, and I want to make you a fair cash offer. Call me at 314-293-3000.
Are you looking for the cheapest prices on car insurance? Then call the Cheap Car Insurance Hotline right now. Hey, you're guaranteed to save money on your car insurance. Most car insurances can be canceled at any time. That means if you find a better deal, you can switch right away. We're not just one company. We offer most of the major brands of car insurance. We're like a discount supermarket for car insurance. And it doesn't matter if you have a good record or a bad driving record. Our agents are experts at finding you the right car insurance for your needs. Our average customer saves hundreds of dollars a year when they call us to switch. So why don't you make this 100% free call right now and see how much you can save on your car insurance. Paid for by AIS Insurance.
800-721-5741. 800-721-5741. 800-721-5741. That's 800-721-5741.
Commentary.
Word on the street is Canada is looking to drop its vaccine mandate for travelers at the end of this month. Boy, I wonder if it has anything to do with baseball money in the World Series. I'm Tommy Laren. More next.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation's 9/11 Never Forget mobile exhibit is a tribute to all who lost their lives on 9/11 or from 9/11 related illnesses. It's a high-tech tractor-trailer that transforms into a museum to educate people of all ages about America's darkest day. The mobile exhibit has traveled across the country and has welcomed over 600,000 people. Visit it in a city near you. Do good and never forget. Donate $11 a month at t2t.org.
January of this year, the Canadian government has barred unvaccinated travelers from entering the country. This is not only a giant crock of crap given the COVID vaccine doesn't prevent infection or spread, but has also given the Toronto Blue Jays a competitive advantage in Major League Baseball. Unvaccinated players from the other 29 American-based teams have not been able to participate in away games played there. Star pitchers like Red Sox Tanner Houck and 10 players from the Kansas City Royals are just a couple examples. But now, as the Blue Jays progress towards the playoffs, postseason, and potentially the World Series, the Canadian government is reportedly set to drop the mandate on September 30th. While I'm happy to report this change, I wonder why it took so long. Why now, Canada? Why now, MLB? Sure sounds like the money is talking louder than the phony science. End the mandates, issue an apology, and let's get back to real baseball. I'm Tommy Lahren.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
But I'm not going to turn my dial off to you guys. I really like this channel.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home. News, analysis, opinion. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
7:35. Anthony Fauci speaks up, and remember, a lot of people follow him, kind of like a cult leader. And he says, no, even though we know what damage lockdowns and shutdowns cause, you know what? That's just collateral. We just had to do it. And he is trying to make the case for keeping government power to, frankly, ruin lives again because somebody might catch a cough. And no, I'm not trying to make light of it. I know that, I was in the hospital with COVID. I know how this could affect people, but I'm going to play his audio from an event that he was at yesterday, and it should be a reminder to every single voter that we have to vote for pro-freedom candidates, or at least the most pro-freedom candidates in a race. That is particularly important in Illinois, in St. Louis County, in the state legislative races. So we'll get to that around 7:35, so about 10 minutes from right now. It's 7:24. Got RedState.com's Susie Moore in for Gabe Pfeiffer today, and Ken Williams. I actually texted Gabe last night to say, "Hey man, how's it going with all that?"
Gabe.
Yeah, because he's I don't think it's a big secret that his full-time job is in something else.
And he said, "If I tell you, I have to kill you."
That's right. Yes. But he is legitimately a rocket scientist.
Right.
We'll put
He's
it that
busy
way.
rocket sciencing.
So he's making a bunch of overtime, which means that I think with all that money he's making, I think he should bring in the bagels Monday when he comes in. He's the one making all the jack.
That makes sense.
I think he brings it in.
And I don't think it would be too far of a stretch that he's listening to us in the background
Absolutely.
right now. So, Gabe.
Hi, Gabe.
Hey, Gabe. I'm thinking bagels and cream cheese. I'm thinking
I like cinnamon.
Cinnamon.
Love those
there
cinnamon
you go.
bagels.
Absolutely. So just saying. All right. Sentencing happened on let's see here. What's this, Thursday? So it happened on Wednesday for a man convicted of killing a St. Louis area police officer. And I am stalling here because my computer is acting very, very strange right now. But sentencing for the man convicted of killing a Missouri police officer. Fox News' Lisa Lacera has the update.
Life plus 40 years for 29-year-old Bonnet Meeks for the shooting death of North County Police Cooperative Officer Michael Langsdorf. Prosecutors said Meeks was trying to cash a stolen check at a market in the St. Louis County community of Wellston on June 23, 2019, when Langsdorf arrived to investigate, and he shot the officer as they struggled. Defense attorneys brought in a psychologist who testified about how being incarcerated as a teen affected Meeks. He had been in jail in North Carolina from the age of 16 to 24. Langsdorf's parents, fiance, and daughter all testified at the sentencing hearing. Lisa Lacera, Fox News.
How does a guy who has facing life in prison, and I'm not trying to be funny here, how does a guy who's facing life in prison have a fiance?
I don't know.
And what kind of argument is it that, well, he had PTSD from being in prison for something he did before, so you got to go easy on him?
Not a very good one, and it apparently didn't really mitigate too much in terms of his sentence, so that's good at least. But there's people that are on death row that have significant others.
Is that some sort of a Hail Mary that the defense attorney throws?
Yeah.
Yeah, remember, the defense attorney's job isn't as much as we like to think it is based on TV dramas. The defense attorney's job isn't to get you a not guilty conviction most of the time. It's to get you the best deal possible.
Correct.
For that. If you were caught red-handed, you did it, all the evidence is there. It's to keep the needle out of your arm or to somehow make it possible for you to have freedom when you're old and gray.
Exactly.
You know, that's their job. So, and I wouldn't even hate on defense attorneys for that. If we don't have robust defense, we don't have a criminal justice system. But you got a guy who murdered a cop after trying to defraud people when he was confronted with it. So let him rot in prison. Good.
And I remember this Langsdorff murder. It was horrible.
Yeah.
It was.
Matter of fact, on the Illinois side, 26-year-old man now facing charges after he fired, police say he fired multiple gunshots at a Metro East police officer. Howard Dotson Jr. facing 5 felonies, including illegal possession of a gun, possession of a stolen gun, illegally possessing a gun while convicted felon, attempted murder, and firing the gun at somebody. Those are all among the charges, so very, very related. This happened just last week, September 14th, near the James Avant Elementary School in Washington Park. Dotson, according to police, fired at a Washington Park police officer during a traffic stop. And so he's now facing who knows what kind of, charges, well, not charges, but what kind of sentence he could face if convicted. It is Illinois, so they could possibly go lighter on it because Illinois is more pro-criminal than a lot of other states. But it just goes to do the reminder that in this defund the police era and debate, that even a traffic stop can result in lead flying at cops.
Yeah. You know, and we were talking about it yesterday in connection with the Darrell Ross shooting. I mean, the rationale behind the training that law enforcement officers receive and why they have to neutralize a threat as soon as a threat is visible, perceived. So, I mean, this all goes to that.
Yeah, this police officer in this case was not hurt, thank God.
Thankfully.
In this case. Now, there have been cases recently of Metro East police officers who were killed.
Yeah.
There was the one who did the traffic stop near the bridge.
Yep.
And was killed about a year, not quite a year and a half ago, because we were on the air here.
Okay.
I remember when that happened. But it's just a stark reminder of this, because the Langsdorff, this is one of those cases, like you said, is like that story popped up and the sentencing happening and went, oh, yeah, I remember that case. But if it didn't pop up in the headlines, we move on. Right. And so this is a poignant reminder, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Just ahead here. Okay, so what's happening is Anthony Fauci doubling down, even acknowledging the damage that all the lockdowns and shutdowns had across the country, not apologizing for it, saying, you know what, it's collateral. It just has to happen. People have to be hurt sometimes because we don't want, a virus flying around.
This coming from the same guy who took beagles and put their heads into testing facilities and had fleas eat them.
Oh, under NIH?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He just has I don't think he has any conscience.
No, I think this guy's absolutely evil. But the reason I bring it up, not just because I don't like Anthony Fauci, but because of the people who follow him are still in office, running for office, and these are the people who are going to look to him and say, well, yeah, we need to be able to shut stuff down. Who cares if I hurt these people? I want to be able to virtue signal and do something. We'll talk about that right around 7:34 here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewstalkSTL.com. The candidates.
We're going to win this campaign.
The issues.
Gas prices, Biden inflation.
The election news, analysis, and opinion you won't get anywhere else. Decision 2022 happens.
There's a backlash coming
on News Talk STL.
From the News Talk STL newsroom, I'm Joey Vasovich. The city of Pine Lawn on Tuesday caught up on delinquent payments to the North County Police Cooperative. The cooperative still plans to stop serving as Pine Lawn's police force on October 11th. Sweetie Pie's, the famous St. Louis restaurant at the center of reality TV show Welcome to Sweetie Pie's on the Oprah Winfrey Network, announced Tuesday it was closing the doors to its remaining upper crust location next to the Fox Theater this Sunday. The closing announcement comes less than a week after a jury found the owner's son guilty in a murder-for-hire plot against her grandson back in 2016. Walmart on Tuesday announced plans to invest an estimated $240 million this year in the state of Missouri to update and remodel 41 stores. The company said its store updates will expand shopping options by offering pickup, delivery, and express deliveries. Locations in the St. Louis area receiving updates include Maplewood, St. Peters, Fenton, Lake St. Louis, and O'Fallon. An extremely rare dog that went missing at the end of August was found Tuesday. Tito, a championship-winning endangered otterhound, was found stuck in the future basement of a home under construction. The dog's owner said Tito was found 40 pounds lighter, but is under medical care. And in sports, the Cardinals fell to the Padres 1-0 in San Diego last night. This was the Cardinals' third straight game without earning a single run. The Redbirds and Padres wrap up their 3-game series tonight, starting at 3:10 p.m. For in-depth coverage of these stories and more, go to NewstalkSTL.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Starting to pick up a little volume. 55 northbound at before 270. They have cleared an earlier crash, so that looks better. But we're busy. Loughborough up through Gaskin 8. If you're 270 north, 55 up to Gravois busy. 44 up through Manchester, slow pockets. 270 south crowding Ladue Road to I-64. Poplar Street Bridge Complex downtown. Everything still looks pretty good there. And we don't have any issues if you're coming in on 6440 so far. It's just busy 170 to Big Bend. This report sponsored by Blindster. Need new blinds or shades? Blindster.com has custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped right to you at prices lower than the big box retailers. Blindster blinds, easy to install, they're guaranteed to fit. Don't overpay for new blinds. Shop today and save big at Blindster.com. I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Cloudy skies and cooler temperatures this morning and throughout the day. Nice and dry for the drive in St. Louis under those cloudy skies. Temperatures in the low 60s. And remaining mainly cloudy with some peaks of sunshine today, but a cooler day after the 96 yesterday. 72 for the high today. Lows tonight in the low 50s and the high tomorrow in the mid 60s under mostly cloudy skies with a few light showers around on Friday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Senator Jim Talent.
We live in an age where saying common sense things is considered to be controversial or even revolutionary. Like, we need oil and gas. Yeah, I think we do. Or maybe we shouldn't shut down the schools. Maybe it's not a really great idea when troubled teenagers come in and just to rush to pump them full of drugs.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL.
For $1 a day, if any covered appliance breaks in your home, we guarantee to fix or replace it. All makes and models, washers, dryers, refrigerators, air conditioners, and more. Guaranteed to be fixed or replaced for $1 a day. Call the Home Service Club now for free information.
800-399-3701. 800-399-3701. 800-399-3701. That's 800-399-3701.
Hey, it's Katie, reminding you to subscribe to our show podcast so you never miss anything that happens here at News Talk STL. Get our podcasts every day on the show pages at newstalkstl.com or just subscribe to your favorite shows on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, or anywhere else you get your podcasts.
Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. You're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
At 6:50, or 7:50 rather, I want to come back to this. Reddit had this cool thread. It's like, do you know people who base their entire personalities and their lives around something?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had a couple, one was politics and, another one was sports and things like that. Things that are really annoying and that we didn't get a chance to kind of explore that because I could think of a couple things not on the list.
Sure.
As well. And so we'll get into that around 7:50. I'll read you that. And if you know somebody, and honestly, there's a couple things in there we may be guilty of as well.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that at, like I said, 7:50. It is 7:36 right now. RedState.com. Susie Moore is in for Gabe Pfeiffer. Ken Williams is here. I'm Mike Ferguson. I know that sometimes people think I'm a little hypersensitive over the shutdowns and lockdowns and mask mandates and all those things. part of that probably is I am a little bit because part of the quirks and defects of my personal character and personality is that I absolutely detest being controlled.
Mm-hmm.
I don't comply. I am one of those non-compliant people. So that really ticks me off.
You're a little ODD. Oppositionally defiant.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe I am. And so I definitely separate out property rights, versus other things. I mean, if your business decides that that's what they want and they're truly a private business, they've got the right to do that, and I've got the right to buy from somebody else.
Yep.
When we look back at all the destruction that Sam Page wrought onto people, that Tashara Jones wrought onto people, that J.B. Pritzker wrought onto people, Gavin Newsom, Kathy Hochul, and before that, Governor Cuomo.
Gretchen Whitmer.
Gretchen Whitmer, Lori Lightfoot. You can go all of these extreme leftists. And in a lot of cases, what they said was, well, we're just following the recommendations. So what they did was essentially outsourced the recommendations to Anthony Fauci and to Rachel Walensky. By now, we know that this is about power and this is about authoritarianism. This is about ideology. There's almost a religious adherence to these. And if you questioned Anthony Fauci, you questioned Rachel Walensky, you questioned, Sam Page, then you were attacked on ideological reasons. Because now we know that all of these things were just nonsense.
Right.
Complete nonsense. Anthony Fauci was speaking at an event sponsored by The Atlantic. I guess it's technically kind of a newspaper magazine. It's more online now than anything. And he actually, in retrospect, had an opportunity to say, you know what, we were trying to be overcautious and, trying to get out ahead of it. And you know what, things didn't work and we've learned our lessons, but that's not what he did. He actually, and I've got the audio from him right here, looked at the documented, proven damage this has done to young people in this country with education and emotional and mental health, to businesses and economy and the lives ruined. He actually acknowledges that happened. He just said it's okay because, we had to make a decision as to who got hurt and who didn't, essentially is what he said.
Of course, when you make recommendations, if the primary goal, when you're dealing with a situation where the hospitals were being overrun in New York, intensive care units were being put in hallways, you have to do something that's rather draconian. And sometimes when you do draconian things, it has collateral negative consequences. Just like when you shut things down, even temporarily, it does have deleterious consequences on the economy, on the school children. You know that. But you have to make a balance. When you're dealing with, we know the only way to stop something cold in its tracks is to try and shut things down. If you shut things down just for the sake of it, that's bad. But if you do it with the purpose of being able to regroup so that you can then open up in a more safe way, that's the best way to do it.
Okay, let's go to where he slipped in there this false foundation of his statement. If we know, or since we know the only way to stop a cold in its tracks is to shut things down, we now know that that was not the way to go, because first of all, we now know that nothing was going to shut it in its tracks, and we also know that the shutdowns had nothing to do with the eventual COVID dissipation and the so-called pandemic being over. So he goes, we know that this is what we had to do. No, it's not, you liar.
Virus gonna virus.
Right.
So I think listening to that again, I think something that stuck out to me was the we and the you.
Mm-hmm.
Because who is the we? Is the we the government, which is what he was saying? Or is it we as individuals with information operating under the, like using our own judgment to determine what is and isn't okay for us to do?
And when a government official says that they're in favor of draconian activity that needs to happen on occasion, that's a huge red flag.
Yeah, that is a red flag.
Care.
You're right, Ken.
I don't care who you are. When you say, well, draconian measures should be in place, possibly.
And acknowledging the residual effects and just saying, well, collateral effects. Children? An entire generation of children is just, it's collateral because people were catching a cough.
There are kids still getting up to speed emotionally and sociologically.
Will be.
And they will be for a while.
Yeah, I don't know how long, if ever, some people will make up that deficit.
And for those who are saying, oh, just would you go easy on the guy? You know, we didn't know what we were dealing with. It was a pandemic. We just had to do something. First of all, the fear mongering was far worse and did not justify what happened. Remember, this was over a 99.97 survival rate. Almost all of the deaths statistically happened among those who had pre-existing conditions or second or other medical conditions and or were in advanced age groups.
At least 4 comorbidities is what they were.
So what happened is they quickly found out that what they were doing did not match up with medical science, capital S, exclamation point, trademark. It didn't match, so they had to redefine what was happening.
Well, remember this.
I represent science.
Yeah, exactly. This became about ideology and politics, and those who questioned it were punished.
Yes.
Yeah.
Instead of somebody, I would have had far more respect if Faisal Khan or Sam Page or Anthony Fauci said, you know what, man, we tried this. The unintended consequences are too great. It turns out there are better common sense ways. Here's what we recommend.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what happened. They couldn't say we were wrong, and so they continued to crack down to the point of violating constitutional rights.
And I find that interesting that you brought that up because if you look at Fauci's history with HIV, for example, way back in the 80s, he was saying things that were way out there. I mean, he was saying things that later on we were like, that's nuts because that never happened. It was never even involved with HIV. And yet he still maintained it. He's doing the same thing with COVID.
Yep.
He's saying, well, we learned a lot of stuff, but it doesn't matter.
And the danger here, Susie, is not that he is sticking to his guns. The danger is that so many people continue to follow him and they refuse to admit that what they did was destructive and it was wrong and we can't make the mistake again, and they won't admit that we have to make it clear that we never do these things again.
You brought that up earlier, the cult of personality.
Yeah.
And, you know, for all the criticisms people levy at people that are big Donald Trump fans, oh, cult 45, like you've mentioned before, Ken.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a danger in building a cult of personality around anybody, particularly an unelected bureaucrat.
Right.
No, I mean, he's no more a god than Donald Trump or Joe Biden or Barack Obama is. And the way that people making dolls of him.
Oh yeah, I saw one at a shop in Maplewood a few weeks ago. There's like a little specialty shop right there on Manchester, and Rachel and I went just looking around. They had some neat, crafty, and local, and like fair trade stuff and all that kind of stuff. And they had like an entire thing of like little dolls of left-wing people like AOC and Anthony Fauci
RBG,
and Bernie Sanders and RBG.
I would put pins in them.
Oh, my goodness. I looked through that and I looked at my wife and I went, the irony here is that capitalism is what makes those things possible.
This is true.
That's exactly right. If I saw a Fauci doll, I'd have pins.
God bless capitalism for you to sell your ridiculous Bernie Sanders and Anthony Fauci dolls. So stupid. Oh, goodness. All right, 314-912-1019. Speaking of the cult of personalities, not even so much the cult of personalities around people, although that happens. There are people who base their personalities on something external. What are the most annoying ones that people do? And I found this on through Reddit, and I'll tell you what some of the top annoying things are about what people base their personalities around.
And listener John from Warrenton called earlier. I hope he calls back because he has an interesting one.
Okay, all right. 314-912-1019. Are you guilty of any of these? I'll go through some of the list at about 7:49 on 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewstalkSTL.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Couple of things to watch out for this morning. A lot of slow traffic 270 northbound 55 up to Gravois. There was a crash that was in the traffic lanes for a few minutes. It is now on the off-ramp, but again, you still have that heavy traffic. 55 northbound Loughborough to Gasconade still slowed down. 6455 westbound at the Papa Street Bridge is just now starting to get heavy. We've got a crash on the right shoulder, 70 eastbound to 270, but everything's getting through there just fine. This report sponsored by Blindster. Need new blinds or shades? Blindster.com offers custom-made blinds, shades, shades and shutters shipped right to you at prices lower than the big box retailers. Blinds to blinds, easy to install. They're guaranteed to fit, too. Don't overpay for new blinds. Shop Blindster.com. I'm Joe Sonderman, and that is the very latest from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Hi, it's Ken, and Vic is on vacation to the lovely mountains of Colorado. But Randy Toba takes over, and he'll be talking with Dick Morris on Thursday at 10:41.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Adam, man, your aunt parties are the best. I mean, you always find the best kitchens with all the crumbs.
Thanks, man. I love finding these homes to do this at.
Oh, man, who just pulled up?
Oh, no, it's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They seem to kill every one of my parties.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. We'd love to help you out. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Life insurance is one of those things that just about everybody needs, but few people actually have. Hey, if you die unexpectedly without life insurance, guess what? You'll leave your family with even a bigger mess. Life insurance will help replace your family's income. It'll help cover burial expenses. Life insurance can even help pay off debt like credit cards and medical bills. Life insurance can even pay for college. And if you own a business and you die, life insurance can help your business from collapsing. It can even help cover estate taxes. Life insurance has never been more affordable and needed. Plus, you can always shop around even if you have a plan and save some money. So call the Life Insurance Quote Line right now for free pricing information.
800-979-3060. 800-979-3060. 800-979-3060. That's 800-979-3060.
The news and talk.
For the media to create this narrative that there's no hope and there's this blue wave rising, I think that's absurd.
That matters to St. Louis.
Appeal the special master.
This is just the beginning. This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Are either of you golfers?
No.
Driving range type golf.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got a set of clubs.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, at 8:05, I'm going to tell you how you can go golfing and help support veterans here in the St. Louis area. Really cool event coming up.
Great event.
If Tim Jones catches wind of this, he's going to be there. I guarantee it.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt. I mean, Tim just needs an excuse to go golfing, to be honest. So we'll do that around 8:05. I'm Mike Ferguson, 7:50 right now. Got Susie Moore from RedState.com in. She's in for Gabe today and tomorrow. And then I think Gabe's going to be back on Monday.
That's what I hear.
And then Ken Williams is here. Reddit had an interesting thread. It said, name an annoying thing people base their entire personality around. And I went, oh, man, I can think of stuff right now. 314-912-1019, if any of this strikes a chord with you. And the number one thing, and they said guys, but there are some women that do this too, is sports fan. I mean, obsessed with your team.
Yeah. We all know people like that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
and I'm going to tread lightly because I know a lot of people who are listening right now.
And I'm a huge sports fan.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to tread lightly. It's my brother. he's a huge blues fan. He's a crazy blues fan. Yeah. John, and I wanted him to call, but he said he was working too, so he was kind of in between. So I'm just going to speak for John.
Sure.
From Warrenton, Missouri, listener John, he said that he has a friend that he's really into tractor equipment.
Okay.
Yeah. And he talks about it constantly. If you ever talk to him, you kind of avoid him because he's always talking about the controversy and which one's better.
Yeah.
And if you don't agree with him, he actually gets maybe angry because of it.
Because
so he's
this
pretty
is part
obsessed
of who
with
he
it.
is.
Yeah, it's totally.
You mentioned the sports thing. Okay, like we're big Cardinals fans here, obviously. But there's a difference between that and you look in the mirror and you don't see Joe or Samantha or Bill or whoever. You see Cardinals fan.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Cardinals lose and you wonder what you could have done better.
Right.
You know,
Cardinals guy.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And there are some teams, Cardinals, I'd say probably one of them.
Sure.
Yankees are probably another one. Ckansas City Chiefs are one. Probably some of the
Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys is a big boy. Should we make fun of Dallas Cowboys fans?
We should.
Okay,
We
I'm
should
telling
totally
you,
make fun of Dallas
totally
Cowboy
make
fans.
fun of Dallas Cowboy fans. I'm waiting for my phone to ding because Chris Harps is a huge Dallas
Yes,
Cowboy
he
fan.
is.
My mom was, God bless her, she was a huge enemy of the Dallas Cowboys.
Ah.
I don't know why though. It was weird because she also loved the.
Was she a Steelers fan?
No. Gosh,
I
darn it.
grew up a Steelers fan.
I'm completely blanked right now. The Cheeseheads.
Green Bay Packers.
Packers.
Yeah.
She was
I'm
a
a Packers
Packers fan, and we'd never even been there.
I'm a Packers
before.
fan.
Yeah, I grew up a Steelers fan
Yeah.
just because when I discovered football, and I don't watch the NFL anymore.
Right.
When I discovered football as a kid in the 70s,
That's
the
when they were great.
Steelers were the big
They
team,
were.
and so I became a Steelers fan.
Absolutely. I've got another one too, Mike.
Okay, what's that?
Gluten-free vegan.
Oh yes,
Or keto.
I would say the vegan thing is the big one.
Yeah.
You know, there are some people that are gluten free out of necessity.
Oh yeah, I'm not knocking being that.
The
It's-
keto thing seems to be working for a lot of people.
It's the obsession with
The
it.
vegan thing.
And I'm kind of obsessed with the Mediterranean diet, but it
Yeah,
doesn't define
But
me.
it doesn't define you.
Yeah, but the vegan thing, people do like literally define themselves.
yeah.
I'm a vegan, and it's like yes,
And if you're not, then you're not quite the right
right.
person.
I mean, they're the people that like there were some vegans protesters in a grocery store 2 weeks ago that they would go to. They were dumping the milk out in the middle of the thing, protesting because how dare you take this from the cow that was intended for the calf. And
Well,
I'm
you
like,
just poured it on the parking lot.
yeah, exactly.
Elijah's on the phone.
Elijah, hey Elijah, you are on News Talk STL.
What's up? I was gonna say, dudes with the lifted pickup trucks and the low-profile tires. Good lord.
You know, hey, it's funny, Elijah, you say that because your car was number 9 on the list.
Yes.
Is people's car.
Oh yeah. I don't have that kind of car. I have a Cabriolet, 1992 Cabriolet.
There it is.
Are
man,
you
lean into
obsessed
it.
with it, Elijah?
No, it's not listed at all.
But you obviously know somebody like that, huh?
Oh yeah, no, like 5, 6, 7 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do too. And you could also throw in motorcycles.
I was just going to say, motorcycles
yeah.
is its own culture. So
without, and some cars
or classic cars, or
I mean,
Teslas.
Tesla. Oh gosh,
The Tesla owner.
That seems to be getting really annoying.
yeah, very much.
Hey, where are
so.
you calling from, Elijah?
I'm calling from St. Peter's right now, but I live out in Arnold.
Nice.
Awesome, man.
Hey, thanks, Elijah. Appreciate you
Thanks
being a
a
part
lot.
of News Talk STL. Yeah, the Tesla thing. And you said that. I'm like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Or any EV owner at
Yes.
this point.
That's true.
Remember what's the other, the Prius?
Prius.
The Prius owners were just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Never mind. I'm not, and again, I'm not going to throw any of my teammates named Larry under the bus who are in that category there as well. But yeah, that is absolutely one.
You could make an argument with Subaru owners too.
Yeah, and even and I used to drive a Jeep, and there is a Jeep.
Oh, there's
one
a Jeep
too.
thing.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a whole
Big time,
Jeep
yeah.
wave.
Yeah,
thing.
you saw the bumper stickers. It's a Jeep thing you wouldn't understand. I'm like, yeah, that happened too. Another one is your job.
Yep.
And I mentioned before, I said, especially in the Western culture, Western society,
Yeah.
men in particular, women do this too. A lot of times we define ourselves sometimes primarily based on what we do for a living.
I would say that's very prevalent.
Very prevalent, absolutely. And in some vocations more than others. My dad, I mean, he was a minister. He was a Baptist preacher. That was his identity, was a pastor.
Right.
And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying is that's what it is.
Sure.
Can you define yourself by your kids?
You can, absolutely.
Because I said earlier that this job has kept me very preoccupied because of the things we're doing with this new station. And I don't know if it defines me, though, because when I leave here, I try to not talk about things. But my kids, man, I'm always talking about them. So
I think that's just being a good
We
parent.
talked about the political side a little bit ago, and so there's that.
Yeah.
I'm a proud progressive. I'm a proud conservative. I'm a proud libertarian. I'm a Republican, Democrat. Trump, Obama, whatever. I'm going to skip down to another one, and I say this a little hesitantly. Where you live.
What high school did you go to?
I was going to say St. Louis is accused of this a lot.
Yeah.
There are some really funny videos
Definitely
out there about St. Louis's obsession with St. Louis.
Yeah,
Our
no,
obsession
but you're
with
right.
St.
Where you live is
Yeah.
Your geography is a big part of that.
It is, and I know a couple people, and I'm not going to say names on this one, but who let's say peaked early in high school. And,
the Al Bundys
and
of the
they
world.
literally, yes,
Yeah.
yes, they're living it out there right now.
How about based on being fans of a person or a band or something else other than sports?
Yeah, they're like. What about Deadheads?
Exactly.
big
Great,
fan.
Grateful Dead,
Parrot
Parrot Heads,
Heads.
Teenagers do that a lot.
Pink Floyd,
Mhm.
Elvis Presley, Kiss.
Beatles, we love you, Sharon.
That's right.
That's right.
Oh my goodness. Another one are the fitness types as well.
Oh yeah.
You know, how can you tell if somebody's a CrossFit person? Don't worry, they'll tell you.
Basically, people are annoying.
And actually, Sharon is probably proud that you mentioned her name.
I did
know.
not say her.
Absolutely. All right, just ahead here. You want to go golfing? You can do it and help support our veterans right here in the St. Louis area. Going to tell you how at 8:05 on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
If you are on Medicare, you need to listen to this message. Open enrollment for all Medicare participants starts October 15th. This is a very critical time of the year for you to make needed changes to your plan.
This is Mike Butts with MB Health Insurance Agency. Regardless if you are new or renewing your health insurance, the process can be confusing and very time-consuming. MB Health is local here in St. Louis, and we will handle your enrollment quickly, properly, and effectively. Find us on the web at mbhealth.com.
MB Health can also help small businesses find the perfect medical coverage for their employees. That's mbhealth.com.
Are you tired of hard chlorinated water drying your skin out, tasting bad, and ruining your fixtures? Jones Air and Water Treatment has a solution to this pollution. Our Hydratech H2O leaves you with great tasting, soft water at all fixtures in your home with one unit. Call Jones Air and Water at 636-899-1040 or visit us on the web at joneswater.com. You can be a filter or buy a filter. Jones Air and Water, 636-899-1040 or joneswater.com on the web. Call us now.
Hey folks, here's great news for active aging seniors. The Kanega Watch, the only medical alert smartwatch with built-in fall detection. Yeah, the Kanega Watch is much different than the other guys. It's a stylish, discreet watch you can wear all the time. Get help through the watch in one of three ways. Your voice, pushing the watch's alert button, or have the fall detection connect you to a U.S.-based 24/7 monitoring center who'll speak to you through your watch and can send help to your GPS location nationwide. And get this, it can do that even if you're not responsive. This is true 24/7 peace of mind for you and those that love you. Order your Kanega Watch with a full refund 30-day trial period. Call now, 800-413-7152. 800-413-7152. 800-413-7152. That's 800-413-7152.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Northward bound Hurricane Fiona bearing down on Bermuda now, where a hurricane warning has been posted.
Fiona currently right now has maximum sustained winds of 130 miles per hour, so that makes it a Category 4 hurricane.
Philippe Papin with the National Hurricane Center.
It's located a few hundred miles to the southwest of Bermuda, and it is now moving towards the north at 10 miles an hour, although we're expecting it to turn to the north-northeast and northeast over the next day or so.
There is a threat of dangerous rip currents along the east coast from Florida to New England. Meanwhile, there is another storm brewing that could impact the Gulf Coast in a week or so. Stay tuned. Federal appeals court lifting a judge's hold that prevented the Justice Department from going through documents that were seized by the FBI during its raid on former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. Mr. Trump's lawyers could appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. Well, if you're driving one of these vehicles, you're more than twice as likely to lose your wheels to a car thief.
The Highway Loss Data Institute, a unit of the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, says some older Hyundai and Kia cars and SUVs are missing a key anti-theft device, computer chips for a theft immobilizer system. The thefts apparently started in the Milwaukee area 2 years ago and spread to multiple Midwest cities after instructional videos appeared on social media. The vehicles affected are older models of the Kia Rio and Sportage and the Hyundai Accent. I'm Donna Warder.
Putin's war in Ukraine continues to grind on. Russian missile strikes in the southern city of Zaporizhia have left one person dead, 5 others wounded. On Wall Street, ahead of this morning's opening bell, Dow futures 121 points higher, NASDAQ futures up 28, S&P futures ahead 10 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
You know how much you're really paying for life insurance through work? I can almost guarantee you're overpaying for limited coverage. I'm Joel Clark, a Select Quote agent for over 20 years. My clients are shocked to learn how expensive life insurance at work really is because of a rate that's driven up by unhealthy people. Why pay more when you don't have to? For over 35 years, SelectQuote has helped people save 50% or more by shopping highly rated insurance carriers. I found a 40-year-old man with high blood pressure, a $500,000 policy for only $18 a month. Don't procrastinate. Workplace open enrollment will be here soon. Let SelectQuote save you money and get you the coverage you need to protect your family.
For your free quote in just minutes, call 1-800-865-2266. That's 1-800-865-2266. 1-800-865-2266. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Full details on example policy and carrier ratings at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Price could vary by health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Eastbound on 70, there's some heavy traffic approaching 270. A crash on the right side. It was blocking a lane, so it'll take a little while for that to thin out. 64 westbound's already pretty busy. Kings Highway to Big Bend. 270 northbound extra slow. 55 up to Gravois. They're clearing a crash at the Gravois off-ramp. The right lanes were blocked there. This report sponsored by Lowe's. I'm Joe Sonderman from the NewstalkSTL Traffic Center.
Don't miss the Energy Savings Event at Lowe's. Save energy and save money on select major appliances, including Whirlpool. Selection varies by location. Exclusions apply. Visit Lowe's.com for details. Valid through 9/28.
From the NewstalkSTL Weather Center.
Cloudy skies and cooler temperatures this morning and throughout the day. Nice and dry for the drive in St. Louis under those cloudy skies. Temperatures in the low 60s. And remaining mainly cloudy with some peaks of sunshine today, but a cooler day after the 96 yesterday. 72 for the high today. Lows tonight in the low 50s and the high tomorrow in the mid 60s under mostly cloudy skies with a few light showers around on Friday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by The Dental Link. Call Dr. Alan Link today, 314-794-6464 to schedule your free consultation. Offices in Baldwin and Melville, 314-794-6464.
We got a lot of really good advice earlier from Eric Robert from Stifel regarding the interest rates that are affecting every part of our lives, including real estate, buying and selling homes as well. Does that mean you should be scared away from making a move right now? Absolutely not. But that does mean you need really good advice and really good representation. And that's why you should call Rodney and Jen Wallner at 314-810-SOLD. Mike Ferguson here for the Wallner Home Selling Team with Berkshire Hathaway. Is it more complicated? Are there different variables? Absolutely. That's why you should never go it alone and get the best advice possible. Listen, Rodney and Jen still have so many buyers lined up and pre-approved and ready to make an offer that you are going to get an offer on your home. So make sure that you've got Rodney and Jen representing you. There's a reason they sell more than any other real estate agency or real estate professional in St. Louis. It's not just because they know the market so well. It's not just because they know the economy so well. It's because they invest their family into your family and make sure that you've got the best advice possible. Make sure that Rodney and Jen are the ones representing you. As a matter of fact, just give them a call, 314-810-SOLD. With any questions you've got, is this the right time for you to sell your home or to go buy a home? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But Rodney and Jen are going to give you honest, solid advice that's going to be in the best interest of your family, because that's what their passion is fighting for you and your family in their industry. Rodney and Jen Wallner, 314-810-SOLD.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Join the conversation. All you have to do is say,
Hey Alexa, play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Mike Ferguson.
Just because you're offended, it doesn't mean you're right.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I love Jesus. He was my superhero.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Twitter is like being able to read every toilet wall in the world.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
8:35, so 30 minutes from right now. So much interest in this. We are going to talk to the director of the campaign for Amendment 3, which used to be known as Legal Mode 22, but now it's on the ballot. So we, meaning Missouri voters, are going to be deciding as to whether or not to legalize recreational marijuana. And the question is, yes or no, should that happen? And if so, is Amendment 3 the right way to do it? A lot of criticism of Amendment 3. So we're going to hear from John Payne and the Pro Amendment 3 campaign. Tomorrow, we're going to hear from a different group that is against Amendment 3. So we're going to get you all perspectives on this. That starts at 8:35. It is 8:07 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson with Susie Moore from redstate.com. She's in for Gabe today, and Ken Williams is here as always. A lot of people just love going golfing.
Sure.
Got a last little stretch of some really hot weather. Now it's going to be really comfortable weather. Good time to get out on the links if you are a golfer. And also St. Louis is really, really good about making sure that we take care of our veterans in this community. A lot of different projects. Well, imagine if you can do both.
I like that idea.
And you can do both. It's through the Gateway Warrior Foundation. They've got the 13th annual Gateway Warrior Foundation Golf Classic. And right now we're joined by Brett Leary from Gateway Warrior Foundation. And Brett, appreciate you being on the program here. It doesn't take a lot to talk golfers into going golfing. And if you can do that and help support our veterans in St. Louis area, what's there to say no to? I mean, what's there to think about, man?
Good morning, Mike, Susie, Ken. Appreciate you guys having me. You're absolutely right. A beautiful day like this morning right now is a great day to get out on the links. And why would you not want to do that when you can raise money for our nation's heroes? It's a great cause.
Brett, how did this event come about?
And back in 2010, Lenny Miller, our founder, he's a decorated Marine, 36-year career, Vietnam, highly decorated, and he was an avid golfer himself, and he was just, watching the news at the time and just saying, we need to do more for our veterans. What can we do more? And got with a group of friends, and they said, well, I don't know, let's just have a golf tournament. So they put together a tournament. Didn't really think they would, generate a whole lot of, support, initially, and they were actually pretty surprised in the very first year. And it just kind of grew from there. We've got a lot of great support, nowadays. And unfortunately, our founder, Lenny, passed away in 2014 after a brave battle with cancer. But his legacy lives on as we continue to grow and our support continues to grow. And we're just glad to continue this and do what we can, do our part to give back and help our nation's heroes.
Hey, good morning, Brett. This is Ken. You have a lot of people who, of course, want to support the veterans and our warriors, but a lot of people don't golf so well. Can anybody get involved?
Absolutely. To help the day of the tournament, we're looking for donations. We actually have a supporter who is an elderly lady who loves what we do. She does not play golf herself. She loves our military. She loves our first responders. She's always been an avid supporter of us, and she actually came to us just a couple weeks ago and said if we can make $25,000 in donations between September 1st and the end of our tournament, that she will match that.
Wow.
And,
Wow.
Yes, and so we literally just found that out at the beginning of the month, and it's an amazing thing that she's doing for us. She does not play golf, like I said. She's just an avid supporter of our military and our first responders, and she said, look, if you guys can, I know you guys raise a lot of money, and we want to. I want to see if I can push you guys to make a little bit more this year, and I'll match the $25,000 that you guys get in straight donations. And there's several ways you can do that. Through our website, of course. You can mail a check. Our address is on the website to our offices, or you can even Venmo us at Gateway Warriors. So there's a lot of opportunity there. We're pretty excited about that, and we're pretty motivated to try and get our supporters and followers to donate. And again, always looking for support, donations, silent auction items. There's many ways you can get involved without swinging the golf club.
I don't mean to brag, but I can put it through the toy windmill almost every time. I'm just saying. We're visiting with Brett Leary.
Timing.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, out on the actual links, I'm not so much a factor. We're talking with Brett Leary from the Gateway Warrior Foundation, gatewaywarriorfoundation.org, and we'll give the details of the upcoming golf tournament in just a minute here, Brett. A lot of different veterans organizations specialize in a lot of different things. What do you all do?
Our primary focus is service dogs. Sad to say that unfortunately still around 20 veterans a day take their own lives. They just don't have the support and the help that they need. And like you said, a lot of great organizations, even here in St. Louis. Focus Marines is an alliance of ours. We send veterans to their program. We pay for them to attend that program. They do great things, kind of reintroducing these veterans who have fought, bravely for our country, how to reintroduce them to their regular lives. And we've discovered that there's a lot of folks that have been waiting a long time to get a service dog for several different reasons. And these dogs are highly trained. They spend 15 to 18 months in training. They're paired specifically with the veteran. It's an extremely expensive cost to do so, but we've got great partners that help us do that. And we know that every dog, we've had veterans come back that have received dogs from our foundation, and they tell us how it's changed their lives. It's saved their marriage. It's saved their relationship with their kids. It turned everything around. And we have a veteran that will come out every year with his dog, and he likes to. Not many veterans like to speak about their experiences, but this gentleman does, and he knows that it's important to share that with our supporters because it gives them the example that the cause is great. There's the money they spent to play golf today is helping change lives of veterans who really need it, and so that's our main focus: is saving lives. Our mission is simply helping veterans in need, but we know that every dog that gets paired with a veteran is a life saved.
Brett, this will not come as a surprise to Ken or Mike, but as soon as you said service dogs, my ears really perked up. I'm a dog lover myself, and
her head tilted just.
Yeah, it did.
I volunteer at a dog rescue, so very in tune to that. But I know you mentioned that the time involved in training these dogs is, often over maybe up to a year and a half. What is the cost associated with one service dog?
One service dog, the cost is around $29,000 now.
Okay.
These dogs go through trauma resilience training.
Yep.
They're capable of doing things that, we all know our dogs are intelligent. Without training, our dogs are intelligent. And,
yes.
The things that these dogs can do, and the veteran that will speak at our tournament, every year he comes back with his dog, and when he starts telling his story, his dog starts working. You can literally see his dog start tapping on his foot. Basically, because she can sense that the feelings are coming up, the anxiety is building. He's speaking on something that he has to dig deep to bring up, but he wants to do it on behalf of. He knows how this dog saved his family and his life, and he wants to share that message with our supporters so that they realize how important it is that we continue to raise the funds and help other veterans get dogs. And you literally will watch the dog sitting next to him as he's speaking to our golfers, going to work, saying, hey, what are we talking about here? It's pretty amazing. And then of course, some of these dogs, are capable of, waking you up from a nightmare in the middle of the night. And again, they're specifically trained. So they're, as we see what the dog's abilities are, then they recognize, they align that with the veterans who are, aligned and to get a dog, and they say, okay, this dog's great at this, and that veteran needs this. So, it's not just, hey, here's a dog that was trained, go on. The veteran spends several weeks with the dog in training before they go home with the dog. It's a lot. And again, we got a great partnership that helps us do that because we're a small group of all volunteers at the Gateway Warrior Foundation. So we're, raising the funds and trying to bring awareness and get as many people involved as we can.
Okay, so it's gatewaywarriorfoundation.org. The tournament, 13th Annual Gateway Warrior Foundation Golf Classic, is October 3rd at the Country Club of St. Albans. Do you still have room for more teams? You still looking for whole sponsors? What can people still get involved with?
Absolutely. We do both courses, so we'll take as many as 63 teams. I think we're somewhere in the mid 50s right now, so we definitely have some spots left. Not a lot, but we're always looking for new sponsors, supporters, golfers, volunteers. You can find information on our website. And you don't want to miss it. Again, I'm a little biased, but I'll tell you right now, there is not an opening ceremony before you tee off like ours. And I'm an avid golfer myself. I play in a lot of tournaments, and I've never seen anything like it. And what we put on before we tee off is designed to remind you why you're there. It's all about the veterans, and we honor some veterans before we tee off. There's a flyover, a full marching band, Patriot Riders. It's amazing, and
awesome.
You'll have goosebumps before you tee off. That first tee shot might be a little tricky because the emotions are gonna be high when you hit that first tee box.
I've got goosebumps now.
I know. I'm getting teary.
All right, so
it's a beautiful day.
All right,
we definitely have room for more supporters, more volunteers, more teams. We'll take whatever comes our way.
Okay, so and again, I'm not a golfer. Teams are 4 people, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're in the mid-50s, basically you got room for 8 or 9 more teams. So if you want to get involved in this, now's the time to go to gatewaywarriorfoundation.org and click on the registration for the 13th annual tournament. All right, Brett Leary from Gateway Warrior Foundation. Hey, appreciate the update. Thanks for what you're doing.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys' time. Have a great day. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Brett.
Thanks, Brett.
314-912-1019. Just ahead, we know that inflation's affecting our lives. We know that the upcoming interest rate impact is going to affect our lives. How much? You may be surprised to find out exactly how much. Even CNN is saying this is affecting every aspect of the typical American's life. We've got all of that in about 4 minutes right here on 1019-94.1 News Talk STL. Then at 8:35, let's talk about legalizing the wacky tobacco in the state of Missouri. Should we do it, and is Amendment 3 the right way? We'll talk about it all just ahead.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
We're doing a lot better here in the last few minutes. They cleared a crash about 5 minutes ago, 270 northbound at the Gravois off-ramp. That traffic was heavy back to I-55, but it should open up pretty quickly for you. 55 northbound between Weber and Gasconade is slow. Woodson at the Rock Road, crews on the scene of an overturned vehicle. It's a little busy eastbound on 70, 141 to 270 south. That's due to a crash. This vehicle ended up in the culvert in the ditch there, so they've got a tow truck on the way to get that out of there. Otherwise, things are in pretty decent shape. This report sponsored by Napa Auto Parts. When your ride fires on all cylinders, so do you. That's why Napa's on a mission to keep you in motion. With nearly 6,000 Napa Auto Parts stores and over 17,000 Napa Auto Care centers, the Napa network is everything you need to get up and go. I'm Joe Sonderman, and that's the very latest from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Summer means you're constantly on the go, so let Steph's Pizza make mealtime simple and good. Dine in, pick up, delivery, even DoorDash. Steph's Pizza is known for great pizza, but they also have pasta and more. With 4 locations in St. Peter's on Jungerman, on Elm at 370 in Zumbell, on Winghaven Boulevard right next to MasterCard, and in the Chesterfield Valley on Long Road. Check them out at Steph'sPizza.com and simplify your summer meals.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Jeffrey Toobin is leaving CNN. He's finally retiring after the big Zoom meeting thing. But I didn't realize, Ken, that he was in The Karate Kid. I didn't realize that.
Oh, Jeffrey Toobin?
Yeah.
What did he do?
Wax on.
Wax off.
That's right. He said it.
You got me.
Gotcha. And he said it, I didn't say it. So that's great. So you're in trouble, not me.
Vic Porcelli, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint, formulated to outsmart the elements. Rain or shine, sleet or snow, mold or mildew. Our home exterior coatings intelligently designed to stand up to Mother Nature. Call 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
Start a podcast for your business today with Epic STL Podcasts. Engage existing and potential customers, build trust in your brand, and drive traffic to your business. Log on to NewstalkSTL.com and click on the Epic STL Podcast button to learn more.
Commentary. Word on the street is Canada is looking to drop its vaccine mandate for travelers at the end of this month. Boy, I wonder if it has anything to do with baseball, money, and the World Series. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation's 9/11 Never Forget mobile exhibit is a tribute to all who lost their lives on 9/11 or from 9/11 related illnesses. It's a high-tech tractor-trailer that transforms into a museum to educate people of all ages about America's darkest day. The mobile exhibit has traveled across the country and has welcomed over 600,000 people. Visit it in a city near you. Do good and never forget. Donate $11 a month at t2t.org.
January of this year, the Canadian government has barred unvaccinated travelers from entering the country. This is not only a giant crock of crap given the COVID vaccine doesn't prevent infection or spread, but has also given the Toronto Blue Jays a competitive advantage in Major League Baseball. Unvaccinated players from the other 29 American-based teams have not been able to participate in away games played there. Star pitchers like Red Sox Tanner Houck and 10 players from the Kansas City Royals are just a couple examples. But now, as the Blue Jays progress towards the playoffs, postseason, and potentially the World Series, the Canadian government is reportedly set to drop the mandate on September 30th. While I'm happy to report this change, I wonder why it took so long. Why now, Canada? Why now, MLB? Sure sounds like the money is talking louder than the phony science. End the mandates, issue an apology, and let's get back to real baseball. I'm Tommy Lahren.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Listen to this noise coming out of the White House.
Live and local.
We need to get the message to people who are not being helped by Democrats.
Ron DeSantis showed people the back of his hand.
This is News Talk STL. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
Okay, so it's one thing to point fingers and talk about how the Biden administration's policies are at fault. In most, I would say the majority at fault. There are other conditions out there regarding the economy that we're all dealing with. Okay, and that's obviously the easy thing for a conservative talk radio station to do, and everybody's doing it, and rightfully so. But one of the things we're doing differently is like telling you how you can navigate this.
That's important to know.
A little bit later on today at newstalkstl.com, in addition to whatever your podcast platform is, our conversation with Eric Robert from Stiefel is going to be posted, and you should check that out. Whether you invest with Stiefel or anybody else, he's just got really good common sense advice. And so one thing to point out the problem, the other thing to recognize, okay, this is what we have to deal with.
Yeah.
It's coming up on 8:24. Ken Williams is here. I'm Mike Ferguson. Susie Moore from RedState.com is in for Gabe Pfeiffer. On CNN yesterday, as they were breaking the news that the interest rate was going to go up, the Federal Reserve's interest rate was going to go up, which affects basically every other interest rate in the country. Rachel Solomon from CNN was reporting on how the inflationary and higher interest rate economy is affecting people's real lives. Remember, this is CNN pointing out what's happening.
It means if you're looking for a home, well, your monthly payment will be much higher than it was even just earlier this year because mortgage rates have popped. They've doubled since earlier this year. If you have a credit card balance and you're making the minimum payment, well, it's going to take you longer to pay that back because you are paying more in interest. So it's something to just think about. The impact on mortgages, by the way, we just got some new data today. Part of the reason why home sales are down a whopping 20% compared to a year ago. It's something to think about because
there's a lot that this affects our lives because a lot of people say, I don't want to deal with politics. I'm not a political person. I don't want to talk about it. I just want to go on my life. Absolutely. I get it. Those people aren't probably listening to this program right now. But I'm telling you what we're discussing right now, Susie, it affects their lives.
Yes, it does.
Huge, huge, huge way, regardless of what income bracket you're in.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, there was a study that was two separate studies. One governmental, one private sector, came to the same conclusion. U.S. Congressional Joint Economic Committee and NerdWallet.com.
Okay.
They are estimating that the typical American household, so take all the households, put them together, and find the average one, which would probably be a suburban type household.
Sure.
Or you're going to have to spend $11,500 extra this year just to tread water and maintain the same quality of life and standard of living as last year because of the increase in these costs due to inflation and interest rate hikes. $11,500, just shy of an extra $1,000 a month, right around $240 a week, $245 a week in higher cost for the average family in this country because of the inflation that is a direct result of the hard left's economic, authoritarian, socialist, high spending policies.
And what percentage of people and families do you think their wages and salaries are keeping up with that adjustment? Because nobody I know.
No, it's that's the biggest problem is that you said tread water, maintain the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
What family's doing that? I mean, I know that we're cutting back.
See, that's the thing is what's happening is in so many places, it's like, well, that $200 and some odd a week, almost $1,000 a month, maybe a little more, maybe a little higher, depending on where you are in life. But it's coming out of something.
Oh yeah.
And so if you want to maintain the same quality of life and lifestyle, then it's coming out of your pocket, it's coming out of your savings, it's coming out of your paycheck. But otherwise, it's coming out of things that you're spending on, and you're not maintaining that same standard of living. And so something has to go. And I know there are things that have gone in our household. It could be maybe you went out to eat 4 times a week, and now you go out twice a month. It could be your kids just don't get to play that sport. It could be, that you're going to let that house repair go farther without it getting repaired, which hurts other areas. Maybe it's you had to take on another job, but it comes out of something.
It does. You're not going to take that vacation. You're not going to buy that car you were thinking about buying. It affects all sectors of the economy.
Right.
The domino effect of it.
Yeah, you're not going to buy that car and you're going to go get a repair instead.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like Hazlitt's broken window theory.
Right.
Or broken window fallacy. Is that, okay, that hurts the car dealership, but it's good for the auto repair shop. But the bottom line is it affects everybody somehow.
Yeah. And if you don't have the money to spend, you're not spending it, or you're going deeper and deeper and deeper in debt.
And that's another part of this is that a recent report in the past week says that we have, on average, some of the highest credit card balances in history right now.
And that must be really high because it's in the United States, it's always been up there.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you add the increased interest rates to high credit card balances, what that sounds like to me is a recipe for a tsunami of bankruptcies in the next 12 to 24 months.
Yep.
So we're just now starting to see how bad this is going to get. And I can tell you, I can predict what's going to happen. Let's just say that Republicans win the majorities in the House and the Senate in the Capitol this year. That's what it looks like is going to happen. We don't know for sure, but let's say that happens. Because of all of these policies, because of the inflation, because of the interest rates, because of likely forthcoming bankruptcies, because of all of this, the media and the left are going to point at the Republicans and say, look at this. They got elected and look at all these bankruptcies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even though none of what's going on right now is Joe Biden's fault because it was the prior administration's fault.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny how the blame only goes in,
Yeah, it only goes one way, even though he has reversed most of the policies of the Trump administration. And let's be fair, the first wild spending stimulus thing happened under the Trump administration. True. And then Biden took it and just kept doing it and expanding it and expanding it and expanding it.
In clarification on Trump's spending, his initial spending was for had a certain deadline, and it was supposed to be. It was a very unusual moment.
I mean, I still think it was a mistake, but it was smaller than the Biden ones. I mean, it was for the COVID, paycheck protection program and things like that.
Right, but he didn't say, "Oh yeah, now that we've spent this, let's go hog wild," and that's exactly what happened with the Biden administration.
Yep, exactly. I think all of them were a mistake, but what we've got right now is of these policies that have inflated the economy. What? 2 massive spending plans from the Biden administration so far. They tried for a third.
Yeah.
And they've had another smaller one, but everything is more spending, more spending, more spending. And then they go, oh my God, how do we get a hold of this inflation? Stop inventing and spending money that we don't have.
Stop spending.
and then stop spending money on the Ukraine. Sending that out there.
We can pay for a proxy war, or we can send our troops over.
Let's do that, but then let's also spend money for the VA. And I mean, there's money that's going over there should be here. That's just my opinion, but
I get it. I mean, but that's a more nuanced discussion than I think what a lot of conservatives give credit for, and a lot of Republicans get credit for. Because let's be honest, not all Republicans are conservatives.
True.
All right, just ahead here, let's talk about Amendment 3. John Payne from Legal Mo 22 wants you to vote for Amendment 3. We're going to chat with him about that, talk about some of the critiques and criticisms of it at 8:35 here on 119 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning, made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. Conservative talk for St. Louis.
It's your patriotic right and duty. The government needs to step up and do its job.
This is News Talk STL.
It's well-balanced conversation.
News, analysis, opinion.
From the News Talk STL newsroom, I'm Joey Vasovich. Missourians could get a break on state income taxes under a proposal approved by the Senate on Wednesday. Senators voted 24-4 to send the bill to the House for consideration. The roughly $1 billion proposal would cut the top income tax rate from 5.3% to 4.95% beginning in 2023. A 29-year-old Berkeley man convicted in June of murdering a North County Police cooperative officer in 2019 received a life sentence plus an additional 40 years in prison. A circuit judge on Wednesday sentenced the man for the murder of Officer Michael Langsdorff at Clay's Wellston Food Market on Page Boulevard. A 23-year-old Table Grove, Illinois woman died after falling out of the sunroof of a car early Tuesday morning on Interstate 64 near the Poplar Street Bridge. The front seat passenger was standing through the sunroof of a Mercedes-Benz Z300 and fell out when the driver was navigating a curve. The J.D. Power North American Airport Satisfaction Study put Lambert as the 23rd out of 27th airports of a similar size. The 17th annual report, which came out Tuesday, quizzed more than 26,500 travelers from the U.S. and Canada. And in sports, the Cardinals fell to the Padres 1-0 in San Diego last night. This was the Cardinals' third straight game without earning a single run. The Redbirds and Padres wrap up their three-game series tonight, starting at 3:10 p.m. For in-depth coverage of these stories and more, go to NewstalkSTL.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Northbound 270 north of Gravois looks like a stalled vehicle partly blocking the right lane. It was pretty slow from Gravois most of the way up through Manchester anyway due to an earlier accident. 44 westbound, slow down exiting at 100 Gray Summit. The signals appear to be on red flash there. 64 eastbound, we're doing better. It's just busy 170 to Big Bend. 64 west, McCausland to Big Bend is heavy. Bridge Complex downtown is all right. And a fender bender 70 eastbound at 270 now on the right shoulder. This report sponsored by Lowe's, and I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Don't miss the Energy Savings event at Lowe's. Save energy and save money on select major appliances, including Whirlpool. Selection varies by location. Exclusions apply. Visit Lowe's.com for details. Valid through 9/28.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Cloudy skies and cooler temperatures this morning and throughout the day. Nice and dry for the drive in St. Louis under those cloudy skies. Temperatures in the low 60s. And remaining mainly cloudy with some peaks of sunshine today, but a cooler day after the 96 yesterday. 72 for the high today. Lows tonight in the low 50s and the high tomorrow in the mid 60s under mostly cloudy skies with a few light showers around on Friday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Colombo here for Agers Heating and Air Conditioning. We trust Agers with our home because their number one priority is doing right by the customer. Temperatures are changing outside, and as we transition from warmer temps to cooler ones, if you have any issues keeping your family comfortable, don't wait. Call the great team at Agers so they can address the issue before it gets worse. Because whether it's repairs or replacement, Agers is there with the clarity and attention to detail your home deserves. Contact Agers now at 636-242-6515 or through their website, callagers.com.
Are you looking for the cheapest prices on car insurance? Then call the Cheap Car Insurance Hotline right now. Hey, you're guaranteed to save money on your car insurance. Most car insurances can be canceled at any time. That means if you find a better deal, you can switch right away. We're not just one company. We offer most of the major brands of car insurance. We're like a discount supermarket for car insurance. And it doesn't matter if you have a good record or a bad driving record. Our agents are experts at finding you the right car insurance for your needs. Our average customer saves hundreds of dollars a year when they call us to switch. So why don't you make this 100% free call right now and see how much you can save on your car insurance. Paid for by AIS Insurance.
800-721-5741. 800-721-5741. 800-721-5741. That's 800-721-5741.
This is what's happening.
The rich will continue to be rich and the poor will continue to get poor.
California's electrical grid is already terribly overburdened today.
News, analysis, opinion.
It's cool to be woke until it's not.
This is News Talk STL. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewstalkSTL.com.
Missouri voters have a lot of questions to answer in November, and among them is the question over increasing legalization of recreational marijuana. Medical marijuana already in place. Now what the question is recreational marijuana. So voters are going to decide, one, yes or no to legalize or decriminalize to some extent recreational marijuana. And two, should Amendment 3, which used to be known as Legal Mode 22, should Amendment 3 be the way that we do it? I'm joined now by the director, Legal Mode 22, which is, campaigning for Amendment 3, John Payne, who you all got it onto the ballot. So we're now making the decision on this, John. And so let's talk about some of the bigger picture questions. And there's a lot of critiques coming even from within the legalization movement. So we're going to have that discussion as well. John, appreciate you being on the program. First of all, let's start with I think one of the biggest questions a lot of people are having is if we're looking to decriminalize, legalize recreational marijuana in the state, why a constitutional amendment as opposed to a statute or going through the legislature? And why does it take 39 pages to say this is now legal?
Sure, and good to be here this morning, Mike. We've tried historically to get something passed to the legislature. Going back to before we ever passed the medical marijuana amendment. And, we was just seeing that the appetite isn't there. The politicians aren't going to get this done. And so if we wanted to do it that way, we'd be waiting for 5-10 more years before we ever really saw traction on this. And so that really leaves the option of going through the initiative petition route. And, when you do an initiative petition, you really have the choice of whether you want to do a statutory initiative or a constitutional amendment. And, in Missouri, they both can be passed by a simple majority. The only difference is the number of signatures that you have to collect. But if you do a constitutional amendment, it means that the legislature can't then go in and change it without any sort of other vote of the people down the line. They can still put something on the ballot to amend a constitutional amendment. They do it all the time. But if we pass this, then it will require another vote of the people to amend it. And so, that we think that's the way to go, because what we've seen is the legislature, if someone passes a statutory initiative that they don't like, they're just going to go in and they're going to change it or completely get rid of it. And so that's what we wanted to avoid. It is 39 pages long. Now, about 14 or 15 of those pages are the current medical marijuana amendment, we do make a few changes to that. For instance, we extend the amount of time that a patient card is good for from 1 year to 3 years. There's some other changes, but if you make any changes like that, then you have to include that entire section in the text of the new amendment. And so, the new text is only about 24 pages, and considering we're setting up an entire regulatory structure for how this will operate, and also expunging and explaining how the expungement process will work for all previous marijuana offenses, with the exception of driving under the influence or sales to minors. We think that that's a pretty reasonable amount of text. If you look at some of the other laws in some states, often statutory laws, those can run into the hundreds of pages. So, something that's only about 20 pages long is pretty reasonable.
John, this is Susie Moore. You mentioned the regulatory structure that's being contemplated in this amendment, and one of the pushbacks that I've heard regarding it is that it's the way it's set up. It will favor, businesses that are already, or certain segments or certain businesses over others. It'll kind of pick winners and losers as far as who will become licensed for this. What is the answer to that?
Sure. So, the first thing I would point out is that this is already one of the most competitive marketplaces for marijuana in the country, whether we're talking about medical marijuana or adult use marijuana. If you look at what Illinois has in terms of licenses, I believe they have about 200 dispensaries there in Illinois in their adult use marketplace. We already have more than that in a medical marijuana market, and we're going to be adding dozens more licenses to that, dispensary licenses to that. When you look at cultivation, the gap is even wider, where they only have about 50 licenses for cultivation there in the state. We already have over 60, and we will have over 100 when this is all said and done after this. And that's at a minimum. The state can always add more. We only set a floor on this. But I think the biggest question that people have is, well, the current medical marijuana licensees are going to have their licenses before anyone else can apply for theirs. And that is true, but that's also because they already exist. They're already selling this. If we want to, start the program as quickly as possible, they are the first people that can actually do this and are already set up to do it. And so it's very simple to just transition them into selling medical marijuana without having to go through another licensing process, without having to build out a new facility, without having to have another commencement process for that facility. All those things are going to take time, but there are a number of new licenses, a minimum of 144 new licenses that will be coming in after the vote on this. But it's just going to take time for that program to be set up and those licenses to be built out.
The voice you're hearing right now is John Payne with Legal Mode 22. They are the driving force, the campaign for Amendment 3. The Missouri voters are going to decide in November. Okay, I want to clarify regarding the decriminalization part of this, John, because there is an increased legalization, decriminalization. How far does that go, and what would still, other than obviously driving under the influence, would there still be anything illegal when it comes to personal possession or use of marijuana, cannabis, anything like that, or is this complete legalization of personal use of it?
Yeah, so the biggest thing that is going to remain prohibited, illegal maybe the wrong term, is public use of marijuana. We do decriminalize that, so it's not something that would be jailable, or it's not something that would be a misdemeanor or a felony, but it is something that remains prohibited, at least if that's the way that the local government wants it. Essentially, what we do is we say that public use in areas proscribed by the local governments, that remains prohibited, but it is an infraction if anyone violates that. But that does leave it up to the individual cities and counties to determine, what areas are, they are going to say public use is prohibited here or public use is permitted here. And we think that's a fair way to do that. That's essentially what we do with alcohol. It's you have a right to drink alcohol in your own home if you're over 21 years of age, but localities differ on what the rules are in terms of walking around on a sidewalk with an open container. Those are two separate questions, and that's what we're going to have in the case of marijuana here. And I think that's a reasonable accommodation for once you get out into public. What you're doing does have some, especially when we're talking about smoking something, that does have some impact on other people around you. And so, I think it's appropriate that be a decision that's left up to kind of the most local forms of government on exactly how that's going to work.
John, it's my understanding that there's a provision in there that deals with the amount of marijuana someone can have in their possession and have it not be illegal. I thought it was like maybe 3 ounces. Can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. Every single state has some sort of possession limit, and that is basically because this is still federally illegal. There is a burden that the federal government has essentially placed upon the states that says, we aren't going to come in and enforce federal law as so long as you make some effort to make sure that there isn't interstate drug trafficking on what is legal marijuana in your state isn't spilling over into states that don't have legal marijuana. And we're actually surrounded by some of the most states that have, I believe for any state in the country, we have more states bordering us that do not have any sort of marijuana legalization than any other state in the country, because we have Kentucky, we have Iowa, we have Nebraska, Kansas, etc. And so anyhow, we have to have some mechanism to prevent someone from just going and buying 100 pounds legally and then just driving it into Iowa or Kansas and selling that on the illicit market. And so that's one of the mechanisms that has been in place in every other state. Now, we are going to have one of the highest possession limits of any place in the country. It will be the second highest, tied with New York, after this passes. If you look at Illinois, the possession limit over there is 30 grams, which will be about a third, because an ounce is 28.43 grams. So we will have a possession limit about 3 times higher than the state of Illinois. It'll be higher than the state of Colorado, which is 2 ounces.
All right, John Payne, Legal Mo. What's the website people want to check out? Check out the proposal.
Yeah, so they can go to legalmo22.com. That's our website, and we have the PDF, the full text on there. They can also, of course, go to the Secretary of State's website. They have all the ballot measures up there for people to read. And I'd also encourage folks to follow us on our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, which the handles are all LegalMo22.
All right. Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks, Mike. Bye.
Right. John Payne from Legal Mode 22. We've got the opposing viewpoint from within the legalization movement on tomorrow's program right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Still a couple of things with us. I guess the most significant would be 270 northbound past Manchester. Crash blocking the left lane. Traffic's still pretty slow back close to I-44 on northbound 270. Our other crash is eastbound 70 past 141 between there and 270. It's on the right side. Just watch that right lane hitting the brakes a little bit. This report sponsored by Lowe's. I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Don't miss the Energy Savings Event at Lowe's. Save energy and save money on select major appliances, including Whirlpool. Selection varies by location. Exclusions apply. Visit Lowe's.com for details. Valid through 9/28.
Columbo and Katie.
The border issue and all the accompanying drama continues to ramp up. Katie and I will discuss the latest with Dakota Wood from the Heritage Foundation Thursday at 3:05.
Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Since 2007, the state of Missouri and local governments have handed out almost $5 billion in tax subsidies or abatements to private developers. That money could have gone to basic services like schools and public safety. And studies show these subsidies don't produce the promised jobs and growth. If developers want to build a sports stadium or shopping mall, why should they be given our tax dollars to do it? It's time to reform economic development subsidies. The Show Me message has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Do you have a property that is more hassle than it's worth? Hi, this is David with House Sold Easy, and I buy houses cash. If you own a property and want to sell it fast at a fair price, call me at 314-293-3000. Do you own an ugly property, a behind-on mortgage payment property, a lazy tenant that won't pay rent property, a too much junk and clutter property, or even a, hey, I'm curious about a fair cash offer property? Well, don't worry. I buy them all, and I want to make you a fair cash offer. Call me at 314-293-3000.
Life insurance is one of those things that just about everybody needs, but few people actually have. Hey, if you die unexpectedly without life insurance, guess what? You'll leave your family with even a bigger mess. Life insurance will help replace your family's income. It'll help cover burial expenses. Life insurance can even help pay off debt like credit cards and medical bills. Life insurance can even pay for college. And if you own a business and you die, life insurance can help your business from collapsing. It can even help cover estate taxes. Life insurance has never been more affordable and needed. Plus, you can always shop around even if you have a plan and save some money. So call the Life Insurance Quote Line right now for free pricing information.
800-979-3060. 800-979-3060. 800-979-3060. That's 800-979-3060.
Listen anytime.
It happens
anywhere. Everywhere.
Every day continues to bring more news.
With the NewsTalk STL app. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the NewsTalk STL app in the App Store or at NewstalkSTL.com. Like us on Facebook at NewsTalk STL. For podcast articles and more, find us on NewstalkSTL.com. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning on NewsTalk STL.
Okay, we have just a few minutes left here before we turn things. Well, it's the Vic Porcelli show, but Vic's out for some family good news.
Yeah, he's in Colorado.
He's in Colorado. Speaking of, never mind. But Paul Kurtman's going to be in for Vic here today, so he's going to be here at around 9:04. And 314-912-1019. So we got a few minutes left here. If anybody's got some thoughts on that conversation with John Payne, a couple things I think jumped out at it, because one of the criticisms of Amendment 3 is that, but wait a minute, it still makes certain amounts of marijuana illegal, as you were asking in that last question. Yeah. And he made the example of somebody basically being a large-scale dealer and then taking their stuff into other states where it's still illegal. And that's one of the things that we're going to talk to. It's called Crossing Paths PAC, which is also in the marijuana legalization movement, but they're critical of Amendment 3, and they actually are asking people to vote no on this. So we got the pro side today, just now. We're going to have the anti side tomorrow on this, so you can get on your podcast and listen to both, which is what I hope everybody does on this. When he was talking about, okay, we've got a floor of at least this many licenses that come in, the state can come in later and add to that. What was your reaction to that? Because it's a constitutionally regulating as opposed to, legislature or administrative regulating, of the industry on that. And I got the impression, guys, that John understands well the criticism of putting it into the constitutional amendment. And to his credit, he just said, yeah, if we put it in the statute, then lawmakers can come in and change it. And it's really hard to change it if it goes in on the constitutional amendment, which is absolutely true.
Yeah. So, I think you can flip that argument on its head. We were talking about it earlier in the show. We are a republic. We elect people to vote certain ways, and we get to unelect them if we decide that we're not liking what they're doing. And that involves setting policies, regulations, those sorts of things. And I just feel like we've gotten away from that when we're talking about this sort of thing in the context of a constitutional amendment. So I'm leery of that. And as far as the licensure goes, again, you're talking about the regulatory state, which I'm instinctively leery of.
Right.
I realize that you have to have a regulatory framework for something like this. I'm just questioning whether this is the smart way to do it.
Yeah, and as far as putting in constitutional amendment versus statutory, there's an argument to say, well, that's the game that's played, and that's how it's do it. If you don't like it, change the rules of the game, which I think we should. I think it should take more of a vote than a simple majority to put something in the state constitutional amendment. But that's the way it's set up right now in Missouri. That's the way that the system works on this. So the question then comes down to is if you are pro-legalization, are there enough benefits versus drawbacks to make this your vote? And that's what people are going to have to decide. I'm going to listen to both sides and listen to the other discussion tomorrow, because we're going to have questions just as pointed, for them tomorrow at 8:05, by the way, as we did with John. I appreciate John coming on. I've known John for a number of years, and he doesn't mind tough questions.
No. And I will tell you, my mind, as somebody who favors legalization, is not made up on how I'm going to vote in November on this.
Yeah, my mind's made up on whether or not it should be legal. It's not made up on whether or not this is the right way to do it.
Same.
I'm not ready to say it is. I'm not ready to say it's not. But I thought that was a good discussion with John Payne.
Yeah.
To do that. So legalmode22.com, I think it was that he said. But if you just look up legalmode22, you're going to find it. So with this particular proposal, I think criticizing they're using the constitutional amendment, that's fair, but at the same time, that's just the way the system we have is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he is right. If he said if we just lobbied lawmakers to do it, it would be probably multiple more sessions before that would happen.
Yeah, and we've been frustrated with the way the legislature has been moving at a snail's pace on some of the things that we favor, but I also think that's part of the system we have too.
Right, yeah, exactly. And I mean, honestly, with quote unquote, can we all let's use air quotes real quick. Medical marijuana.
Medical marijuana.
It's wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Here's my card. I, have a paper cut. So I got a card for medical marijuana, and that's really where it's at.
Not to minimize those who really do benefit medically from it, because there are plenty of people who do.
But, essentially what we're talking about is expanding the medical or the marijuana industry in general.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is there's a demand for it. There's a market for it.
Yeah, we got a call from a listener this morning that really benefited because he had bad knees and bad back and everything else. And I just think that's, I think there is some good there.
Cancer patients, glaucoma. I mean, there's plenty of medical uses for it, so that's legit.
There is. Yeah, there is. And, there's clearly a market for the recreational side. And if you don't respond to the market, what happens is the market continues to demand.
Right.
The supply continues to meet the demand one way or the other. That's just market economics. So it can be above board, it can be below board, and we've got over 100 years of history of what happens in Prohibition.
Yeah.
It ain't pretty. We should know that by now.
Well, if we learned our lessons.
Big, big, big if. All right. Just ahead, we've got the Vic Porcelli Show coming up with Paul Kurtman, guest hosting, because Vic's daughter's getting hitched. That's what's happening, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations to them. So Vic's off in Colorado to walk her down the aisle.
Yay.
I want pictures. I want pictures of Vic in a tux.
Yes.
Hey, I think his Twitter pictures of him in a tux, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm looking it up right after the show ends. All right. Just ahead, Paul Kurtman right here on 1019-94.1 News Talk STL, in for Vic Porcelli.
Oh, Adam, you are so romantic. And I love the kitchen you found with all these great crumbs.
Yeah, baby. Only the finest crumbs in the kitchen for my favorite aunt. Oh, no. It's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They always kill the mood.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. We'd love to help you out. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money